Fox News on the radio, and of course that means the ever charming Ryan Schmelz joins us. Good morning, sir.
Hey, what's up, Kevin?
Not much. I'm sure you had a good weekend. Your Ravens won. Tough loss for Ole Miss, but 50-50 for you isn't so bad.
It was it was an interesting weekend. Very depressing Saturday. Don't know if I'll ever recover. But Sunday was awesome. The battle for the Beltway, ton of Commanders fans in Baltimore. And we had a great time, though there is a video of a Ravens fan acting very illegally and going around and fighting random Commanders fans, and I hope he's going to face the consequences for that.
Yeah,
but,
what's the deal with you people east of the Great River? Y'all like to fight. Y'all like to get drunk and fight. What's up with that?
That gentleman does not represent Commanders fans, and he does not represent Ravens fans whatsoever.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Like Jim Rome used to say.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a fair rivalry and everyone was having a great time. So I don't think that should take away from the fact that it was great for both areas and just great for the DMV as a whole. And it was just an incredible atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Hard to believe that we're taking a look at just very, very, 20-some days left until the election. And the vice president is coming up with a plan to appeal to black men.
Yeah, exactly. So this rollout includes saying that her agenda will include making it easier for black entrepreneurs and black businessmen to get small business loans or just loans in general to start a business or to start a venture, and then also includes increased research for diseases like sickle cell as well as diabetes and mental health, which the administration believes disproportionately impacts black men. And it also includes an increase in apprenticeship opportunities, too.
Yeah, and something about giving them $20,000 and legalizing marijuana, recreational marijuana.
Yes, they do want to. That's something that Harris does support. She's always supported or for the most part, has always supported making marijuana legal at the recreational level. Obviously, there's a lot of states that now support that, so she's going to probably just go in on that push even harder.
Yeah, although she does have an issue, I guess back in the 90s, she used to prosecute a lot of people for that. But what was it? I know you're big with all the radio stars. I think she and Charlemagne the God, she's going on with again, but she did joke about that, I think, last time around.
Yes, and I think another one is going to be the exclusive that Brett Baer is going to have on Wednesday. So that's going to be epic. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm not.
Wow.
I've been in your facility, and I've looked at Brett Baer, and I've been on Fox News with Brett Baer, and I love Brett Baer, but he's no Ryan Schmelz. Ryan Schmelz is our guy. Ryan Schmelz is our guy. We're you and Jared, and they don't listen to us because we would be lobbying for you guys together, not Brett. Who, look, he's a big star. You guys work in the same area. I know that, and I can remember walking through that area and Chris Wallace giving me a mean look, and Ollie North on his way to the bathroom. I go, "What's up, Colonel?" And they said somebody call security. But it happens everywhere.
It happens sometimes, Kevin. Sometimes you just open your mouth and security gets called. It's just what happens.
A story of my life. Anything else going on with you? Anything else you'd like to share? Any big news of the week? Congress is out, I guess.
Yeah, we've got this great story that's going to be coming out. It's about this congresswoman named Anna Paulina Luna. She is a Florida congresswoman, member of the House Freedom Caucus at that, and she has actually had a very good working relationship with President Biden during this hurricane response effort. She said he actually called her. They spoke on the phone for about 10 minutes about how her family's doing and then how the administration can help the people of Florida. And so they've had a pretty solid working relationship, and he's on board with her when it comes to the idea of Congress coming back from recess to address the Florida situation as well as, the rest of the Southeast and the areas that were hit hard by the hurricane. So stay tuned on what happens with that. But it looks like Luna has had a good relationship with President Biden, even though this is the same congresswoman who actually led the effort to hold Merrick Garland in inherent contempt. So a lot going on there.
And I will say this. You don't have to say this. I will. One of the more attractive people on television, Congresswoman Luna. Cosmetically appealing. Nothing wrong with saying
no
that.
Comment,
That's
Kevin.
not.
Nice try, Kevin. Nice try.
That's not. And by the way, Speaker Johnson was pressed on meet the press about this, and he would not confirm or deny that he will do that.
Bring him back?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it looks like that he still needs to see the damage report and all that. It's something that he's kind of been saying the whole time, and a lot of members do think that makes sense. And I think the big thing is going to be, is FEMA going to dry up this $20 billion disaster relief fund that was funded before members left for the recess? And if they still have the money, then I don't think they'll see the need to come back. But that could always change.
Kind of like you, can always change.
Yes, sir.
All right. Too bad we can't get you in trouble today.
No, you tried, Kevin. You tried.
I had to go to my boy John Mounts about you.
What'd you tell him?
We just said, hey, man, what about this Ryan Schmelz guy? And they go, we know all about Ryan. I said, well, I'm going to try to get up on the power list. As you surpass everybody else, I want to surpass, how you view John Mounts and JT. Yeah.
Yeah. John's the man. Love John. The best.
He's a good dude. Wait a minute. He's the best. What about us?
No, just kidding.
Is John Mounts going to go to war over Brett Baer for you?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. We'll see.
Yeah, I love the commitment. Ryan, you have a great day, young man. We always appreciate you, brother.
Hey, appreciate you, Kevin, and thanks for not getting me in trouble today, even though you tried.
See ya. Thank you.
All right, see ya.
Our great friend Ryan Schmelz joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We are rolling on the right side. Despite what everybody is saying, it is looking very good for the president of the United States, Donald Trump. Also, Kamala Harris is in trouble with black men. And, in Idaho, we're, like in any part of America, we're not racially divisive. We're not racially insensitive. It's fascinating to me, though, that one of the key groups that should be supporting her, that support all the Democrats, that support Joe Biden more than she does, is saying they're not buying it. Why? Because their lives were better under Donald Trump.
She unveiled her opportunity agenda for black men yesterday, starting with $20,000 in forgivable government loans for 1 million minorities to start businesses, as well as education, training, and mentorship programs, creating a framework for cryptocurrency, launching health initiatives, and legalizing marijuana. It comes as the New York Times poll shows just how much black voters have drifted from Democrats, from 92% in 2016 to 90% in 2020, down to just 78% today. The Pew Research Center says it drops even more drastic at 22 points since 2016.
Yeah. So at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, it seems rather exclusionary because she's going to give this to black men, but she's not going to do this for everybody else. Then apparently, I guess the big issue, and to me, I'm not a black man, but I find it insulting, is they're going to legalize the weed. Well, in some parts of the country, not Idaho, weed is legalized. By the way, we do have to say this at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. There's a lot of problems with legalized weed. There is, all of a sudden, you're having a lot of studies that people are becoming more and more psychotic, schizophrenic. People are having, more mental health issues because of the weed. And I know there was a guy on Twitter at Kevin Miller Show who started, and look, I can't sit there and tell you that I'm a talk show host and get mad when people smack me. Now, sometimes, people go too far. Sometimes I go too far. But his point being was, Kevin Miller, you're always ripping the weed. Alcohol is the worst. What's your deal? What's your problem? In fact, let me go to this right now at Kevin Miller Show on Twitter, and I will find this out where this guy, he was very, very emotional, very upset. And look, Reese Witherspoon followed me. How about that? Boy, isn't that exciting? Where this person just said, hey, I'm tired of you going after the weed. And I'm thinking, if you look at the studies of this, if you look at the gateway stuff, it all starts with marijuana. Why do you always lump marijuana in with drugs like cocaine and heroin? They are nothing alike. Alcohol is worse than marijuana, but no one cares about that. I think you know it, so quit it. Well, and that's from John. And let's see. John, I appreciate that. Apparently, John lives in California, or he didn't update his Twitter profile. Marijuana is evil. And I know there are some things, if we could regulate marijuana, like real-life medical marijuana, but it's a joke. Have you watched The Tulsa King on Paramount? Sylvester Stallone playing a gangster in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It should be Boise, Idaho. And it's all about weed farms and everything else, and we have weed gumbies and weed. And it's all about, Cheech and Chong and all sorts of nonsense. Idaho has it right. And Kamala Harris trying to cater to black men by legalizing marijuana is just plain wrong. Dr. King talked about a colorblind society. What is this? Pete in Mountain Home, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Kevin, real quick, if anybody on this station would like to know what happens when you get addicted to marijuana, all you have to do is listen to Liberal Steve when he calls in. Okay, now there is some good news on the women's college sports front. The whole bull crap, as it were, about transgender, supposedly men, playing on women's teams in volleyball.
Yeah.
And BSU, and I think it's 3 other teams.
And I think Nevada just canceled too.
University of Nevada, Reno, the women canceled it, not the school. The school said, "Oh no, the game is going to go. We've decided we got to comply with the NCAA and yada 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 yada." Well, the women on the team wrote a statement, and they said, "We, the University of Nevada Reno women's volleyball team, forfeit against San Jose State University and stand united in solidarity with the volleyball teams of Southern Utah University, Boise State University, University of Wyoming, and Utah State University. We demand that our right to safety and fair competition on the court be upheld. We refuse to participate in any match that advances injustice against female athletes." And so the University of Nevada, Reno said, "Oh no, the game is going to go on, and it's up to the women when they get there to decide whether or not." Well, the women have said, "Nope, not going to do it." And the university also said they intend to move forward with the match's schedule, and the players may choose not to participate in the match on the day of the contest. No players will be subject to any team disciplinary action for the decision not to participate in the match. And this is how women in college sports can end this crap. They can just say, "We don't care what the university says. We are not going to play against those people because it is too dangerous and it's not fair."
Well, I think they're right to do this. They got to look out for themselves.
Oh, I would like to have a nationwide salute to those women. This is the only way they're going to stop that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And congratulations to them, and more power to them. Anyway, I just thought I'd give them a quick shout out here.
Well, we appreciate that. What about the weed, though? What? We have this whole pro-weed agenda.
I think some of that is they figure that if they get you doped up enough on weed, that you'll vote for Democrats. I mean, hey, look at Liberal Steve.
Yeah. Pete from Mountain Home, anything else? I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
The other thing about making it legal in the context of making it legal, especially for black men, that sounds like pandering and racism to me.
I would agree with you on that. I would agree with you.
Anyway, that's all I've got for the morning, but I just thought I'd say, a shout-out to the women of UNR volleyball.
A shout-out to Pete from Mountain Home. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
All right, we're just getting started. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. By the way, we are getting your thoughts on weed in Idaho, number one. Number two, this is a grill section brought to you by our friends at Hoagland Meat. Check them out today. They will deliver the meat, the healthy Idaho meat to your home, hoaglandmeat.com.
Campaign is working. Base Republicans today believe everything from Democrats secretly manipulating the weather from a secret base in Alaska to Trump being incapable of losing this election. He's winning in a landslide. And some Democrats are starting to believe the disinformation too. Have you noticed how sharply the polls have shifted in Trump's favor over the last couple weeks? With these claims that Trump is surging with black and Latino voters and leading in every single swing state, according to secret internal polls, despite all the Hitler talk. Yes, this race will be far too close. Because unfortunately, we do have a fascist groundswell in parts of this country, mainly among white men, let's be clear, but in small pockets among black and brown men too. This happens to be a global phenomenon as women become more economically independent and seek positions of power. But friend of the show, Simon Rosenberg, points out that just like in 2020 and 2022, dozens of right-wing polls have been dumped into the marketplace.
Yeah, they're upset because we're not talking about right-wing polls. We're talking about NBC News says the race is a toss-up. And if it's close, we all know President Trump wins. Paulie in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Paulie.
Good morning, Kevin. Yeah, I don't know. I was watching the news this morning. My deal that I do on Tuesday and Thursdays. But besides that, what they were talking about was having Joe decide just exactly how they're going to adjudicate the war between Israel and Iran. And it's mind-blowing. Here's the guy who's got dementia. There was a coup against him to get him out of the White House. And yet he's still there. I guess in name only, but in some respects, people still, I guess they respect the office. Maybe not him, but they respect the office. And I find it childish to even let the guy do that. Mm-hmm. He's got a serious mental illness that's setting in, like a fog, and he thinks he can make proper decisions, which is natural for somebody in that state. But what the recipients of whatever decision it is he makes?
Yeah, Paulie, you're echoing really bad here this morning, Paulie.
I'm going outside right now.
Yeah, I know, but it's pretty bad. Can you put your hand up to the phone?
Now?
Yes, better. And the only reason why I say that, Paulie, is I listen to you regardless. But I'm with you. but if we can't hear you, then it's
Then it's Katie bar the door.
Then
right?
Then it's Katie bar the boot. Yes, for Paulie. But anyway, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I think it's borderline childish and elementary to allow him to make any decisions on camera for the rest of us to abide by. They've already had somebody else running the whole show the whole time he's been in office, because whatever it is he's got, whether it's dementia, Alzheimer's, some neurological disorder, the guy's got a gait that tells you that he's got something serious. And then when he stutters and stammers, of course, he was a stutterer as a child, too, but nevertheless, if you can't get something across in a meaningful manner, who's going to listen to you? I disagree with them still playing this charade that it's okay for him to be the president of the United States. He's cognitively declined to the point where I don't even think he knows whether or not he's sitting on the can or not, if you know what I'm saying. And I hate to say that about a president, because I've venerated and loved the office of the president of the United States all my life. My father instilled that in me. And to see it being trashed like this, and the rest of the country being trashed for some ungodly, unknown reason why they're doing it, is beyond me. And if you want to vote for a communist, Marxist, your vote should go to I can't even say it, to the Black Widow is what I call
To
her.
Kamala.com?
Yeah. She's a Black Widow as far as I'm concerned.
All right.
She means nothing but death to most of all of us in this country. And she knows exactly what she did when she opened the floodgates to have no borders and allow 13 million plus people of all different ethnicities and proclivities to want to do us danger. And they've grown up that way, and that's what all they know is to kill the USA. Death to USA, death to USA.
Oh, that's great to wake up to, Paulie. Anything else you want to share with us?
Just you guys, I realize it's kind of Debbie Downer when I discuss this stuff this early, but, you know, we're talking about a major conflict between Iran and Israel, and I've been waiting over 40 years for this. I've wanted to see it, not because I'm a warmonger, but I like to see blood spilled on the sand, but something needed to be done 40 years ago when Reagan was still in office. And for one, I hope that there's going to be some kind of finality of it and not an explosion all over about it.
All right, Paulie, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Kevin Miller, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Don't forget the free KIDO Talk Radio app today. And many of you have been wondering, you know, it's early in the morning. You're trying to figure out how to wake up. Well, we thought we would give you a lovely message from, hey, it's me again. No, she's not out with Bill Clinton. Hey, you're looking pretty good. Well, thanks.
And when we fight, we win. And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win.
One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government shouldn't be telling her what to do. One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do. What I call an opportunity economy, so that every American has an opportunity to own a home, to build wealth, and to start a business. So every American has the opportunity to own a home, to...
No. Anybody that you know is a Democrat in Boise, because really that's where all the Democrats are in this state, ask them, how can you, with a straight face, support this person who says absolutely nothing? How in the world can you support her vice president?
Look, you all know it. We can't have 4 more years of this. We won't have 4 more years of it.
He's right about this. We can't. He's right about that. Don't forget our friends at Hoagland Meats. HoaglandMeats.com, 10% off, courtesy of The Kevin Miller Show or Kevin Miller or something like that. KIDO Talk Radio, let's get you to work safely and on time. Fox News brought to you by Beacon Plumbing. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Installation Studio, traffic now really looking pretty good on the freeway, beginning to build just a little bit for you. Don't forget you do have that construction going on in McDermott from Highway 2026 down to McMillan as that is closed off. Dealing with backed up drains can be costly. Perfect Plumbing, Heating, and Air will clear your drain for just $29. Serving Treasure Valley homeowners since 1984. Call or schedule at callperfectnow.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
For something shared from Facebook, so that's my disclaimer. You know, I hope this guy is who he says he is. But says he's been helping in North Carolina. And he put out some ideas that all of us should be thinking about because with this election, no matter who takes the White House, there could be pandemonium afterward. His suggestions are clean and oil and load all your guns, get rid of dust. You know, we live in Idaho. Put fuel up your car and get some gas cans for extra. If you have a ham radio or other radios, set up call signs with your family and important people around your house. Put up lights, security systems, you know, if you already have them or if you can. This one, definitely have cash on hand because we might, maybe we can't get to a bank in the first day or two. Food for a month, stars on that one. Water, more stars on that one. Medications that you must take, stars on that one. He talked about taking a few days vacation time after the election in case you can't get to work. Just saying.
Well, hold on, Bo. Put in for some vacation time after the work. We're gonna do that as well. I'd like that.
And just to wrap it up, because I got to go.
What do you mean wrap it up? You got to go. What is this? A hit and run?
No, it's just that I have to go to work.
How dare you?
So,
ma'am.
Update. Get your will updated. That's getting a little dark, but I'm saying it. Know where the deeds to your house are, titles to your car, and write down the passwords to your accounts for your others.
Well, now, are you expecting trouble?
I am thinking, as he stated,
well, who's
that
he?
There could be pandemonium. Oh, the guy on Facebook.
You don't even know his name? Some guy?
Yeah, guy on Facebook. I got this list off him. But I also believe that there's a possibility, no matter who takes the White House, there could be unrest. Just saying.
Well, I think you've said a lot. Anything else?
I said a lot. I got to get to work.
The NSA will be there to pick you up in a minute, by the way.
I'm afraid so, yeah. Well, maybe not. I hope not.
Elsie, thank you for sharing that on KIDO Talk Radio. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you all. You too, Kevin, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. There we have it. And I have to say, I used to make fun of Glenn and Nampa and other people when we're talking about prepping, but what happened in North Carolina makes me think twice. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
KIDO Talk Radio. Waking up on the right side. This is the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
I mean, we have a campaign now that is sending out surrogates to lie and compare Trump to Hitler. The end of democracy. He's going to sign a national abortion ban, none of which is true. That is against IVF, not true. The person that has to start answering questions, real questions, are Kamala Harris about her 12 million plus unvetted Harris Biden illegals. Why do you want to decriminalize it and offer free food, housing, health care, education, your running mate, legal driver's licenses, and a college education? People that you haven't vetted, and they've come from over 180 countries, including our top geopolitical foes and countries with terror ties.
From coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, it's the Sean Hannity Show.
Hey everyone, the 2024 election is on our doorstep, and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are knocking on your door. They're pushing for higher taxes and even taxes on unrealized gains. Could you imagine that? Paying taxes on something you never took profits on? What would that do to the economy? Will they come for your retirement savings? Will they come for your house? Who knows? But don't wait to find out. Learn how you could protect and diversify everything you've worked for with the top-rated precious metals company, Goldco. Goldco has over 6,000 five-star reviews, a bunch of awards, and has helped people just like you purchase over $2.5 billion in gold and silver. Call 855-815-GOLD to get your free 2024 gold and silver kit, plus up to a 10% instant match on bonus silver for qualified accounts. Learn how precious metals like gold and silver could help you. Call 855-815-GOLD. That's 855-815-GOLD.
Paid for by Goldco.
And there we have it. Let's get to Brian in Nampa on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, Kevin, you remember that invitation I gave to Walls to come and do a shooting match or archery or hatchets or whatever?
Yeah, you said you were going to get him.
Well, I'm rescinding that because I saw that video of how he handles the shotgun. and let's just say I'm not impressed. He can come out, and I'll show him how to load his shotgun properly. Kevin, has there been like a lack of training in the military? Wasn't he in the military for like 25 years?
He was.
Yeah, I just find that rather, I don't know. He was all pressed in his brand new hunting uniform that still had the creases from taking it out of the wrapping, and a brand new orange hat. There wasn't any blood on it. There wasn't any dirt. I think I killed more pheasants, geese, and ducks by the age of 12 than he probably has in his entire lifetime. So, yeah, I'm rescinding that. I'm a little fearful of another Cheney incident, if you know what I'm saying.
Don't turn your back on Walls.
Yeah, I don't know. I know country boys that can outshoot military boys. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised. And that's not a bag on the military.
Oh, yes, it is. You're bagging on military boys. How dare you?
Well, let's just say I have a brother-in-law that's retired officer, and then I have a cowboy from Blackfoot that's another brother-in-law, and we went out to the Lavies out in eastern Idaho and put up orange clay pigeons, and the brother-in-law that shot the best was the country boy from Blackfoot.
Well, you have a country boy bias, though.
I do. I do. But he even shot better than me, Kevin, and he has less experience than guns. So I'm also being humble because this country boy from Blackfoot, my brother-in-law, outshot the other brother-in-law that was in the military and retired. So, you know, just because you have military service doesn't mean you're a better marksman. So maybe that applies to Tim. That's my point. Hey, and a question. Before Obama lectures the brothers about being sexist because they won't vote for Kamala, I needed him to define what a woman is. Because if you can't define what a woman is, how are you sexist against them? And I know Bill Clinton's got it figured out because let's just say he had an issue with women.
Here, hold on. Let me hold on. Speaking of women, I got to share this with you. You're going to love this one. So here is the vice president on one of these podcasts, The Shade Show.
Here we are. How do we get here? You smell good. You look good.
Oh, that's better than smelling bad. Thank you.
I know. You smell great. You look great.
Brian?
Can we call that the Wicked Witch laugh of the West since she was in California?
Wow.
Let her remind.
I don't know about that.
But, you know, I don't know what's happening to the Democratic Party. Was it the white part of Obama or the black part of Obama that was lecturing the brothers about Kamala? I'm just curious.
I don't think the brothers would have liked the white part lecturing them.
Yeah, and I know a lot of brothers, Kevin. I'm friends with them. I work with them, and they don't like being talked down to by a rich boy that lives in Martha's Garden. Just saying. And, you know, the Democrats came out with this commercial about manly men. I about threw up, Kevin. So if we can't define what a woman is, how is it that all of a sudden the Democratic Party can define what a manly man is? I'm confused. I thought we were supposed to be, how shall we put it, diverse and DEI about, you know, accepting everybody as they are or as they think they are. Or is that now all out the window because Kamala's got to win the election?
Well, I wish Joe Biden would come out and talk about that he smells good, and he likes it when Kamala smells good, and there's nothing wrong with smelling good.
Yeah, we know Joe's a sniffer. I mean, he's known for that.
Hold on. Imagine instead of talking about his hairy legs, he's talking about sniffing the vice president.
And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
You know, imagine if he wasn't talking about kids jumping on his lap. He was talking about smelling the vice president.
Here we are. How do we get here? You smell good. You look good.
Oh, that's better than smelling bad. Thank you.
I know. You smell great. You look great.
Somewhere, Vladimir Putin says, I can't believe they're going to elect somebody dumber than Joe Biden.
Yeah, Kevin, when's the last time you let a kid rub your leg?
Nope. I usually give him a judo chop to the forehead.
Like, I don't enjoy kids rubbing my legs. In fact, I've never let a kid rub my leg. That comment's just kind of like one of those comments, like, I don't know.
Are you on Twitter at all, Brian?
I had an account, but no. Kevin, I got to be honest. You know, you're the only radio show I call into. You should feel privileged.
Well, no, we try to earn that. So you're going to love this one. So on Twitter, Bo, I don't know. Do you follow the guys that beat up the pedophiles on Twitter? Have you been watching that? There's a big viral thread, and actually the pedophile beaters were in Boise, and they shamed the Boise Police Department. This happened last night, that they came in from Arizona or Iowa or wherever, New Mexico, and they trapped these pedophiles, and they come up to the pedophile in the supermarkets, and it's like To Catch a Predator, except they start punching him. And then the pedophile goes, and they have the evidence, and they go, you call the cops, we're going to get you. So then there was a big controversy involving the Boise police. I think our friend Matt Walling is going to be publishing something on KIDOTalkRadio.com about this, but they turned over the evidence. They actually tracked these guys, and literally, Twitter keeps banning them, but they come up and they punch them. And they go, and it's the most alarming thing. And the latest one is one of the pedophiles was running wild and tried to get away. The guy grabbed a pumpkin and smashed him over the head with it. It's I don't know how we got on that, but I had to share that with you.
It sounds like the Democrats let some of the guys I used to guard out of prison that hate the pedophiles, Kevin. That's what it sounds like. Because if you work in a prison, you know, like, the number one person that's risk behind bars are pedophiles. I used to have to, I would open their cells for 2 seconds and shut them immediately. They would literally stand by the cell door and would get out quick if they wanted to go to lunch or break. If they didn't, I had to shut their door within 2 seconds, 1, 2. And I knew exactly who they were because it was required. Because if we didn't do that, they would get killed. So, you know, are we protecting our people too well? Or have the Democrats let too many convicts out of prison and now they're running around doing what the government won't? Kind of funny you bring that up, Kevin. You know what happened to my wife the other day? She's walking down to our park in our subdivision. A guy comes running up to her. He's known in my subdivision. He's a rather interesting-looking fellow. I watch him like a hawk when he walks by my house. And he comes up to her with his letter, all in tears, and he was going around the subdivision asking everybody to read this and if they knew anybody about it. And basically what he said was it was a note left on his house that says, we know you're a pedophile, and we're watching you. And he was trying to find out who did it. So he called the cops. Cops said, well, it's just a note. We can't do anything about it. And he called the subdivision, you know, to see if, and they couldn't do anything about it. And I went to go walk over in that same area to find out who it was because I didn't know who it was. And he wouldn't come up to me. And I was going to tell this guy, because I didn't know who it was at the time, put some cameras on your house, light your house, and see if you can find out who's leaving the notes. And then, by all means, you're in Idaho. If you can, if you're not a felon, get a gun. So...
Well, that is a legitimate threat. Brian, I got to run. Thank you. Sorry for the quick exit. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 5436-580 KIDO. You know, yesterday we didn't really do enough justice to Columbus Day Here is Scott Jennings of CNN.
Scott. All right, tonight, I just wanted to acknowledge Christopher Columbus, since apparently everyone else is trying to cancel or villainize this man. Why can't we do both? Celebrate both indigenous peoples and Columbus? Why does history have to be reduced to a zero-sum game? Happy Columbus Day to everyone. Why? Because in the words of great American historian Tony Soprano, he discovered America, is what he did. He was a brave Italian explorer, and in the Jennings household, Christopher Columbus is a hero. End of story.
Now, by the way, Christopher Columbus, and I think it was Eric and Payette that told me, Christopher Columbus actually turned out to be Jewish, not even Italian. Does it really even matter? You know, there were some of us that grew up in an America where we didn't have a hyphenated American. We weren't a white American, a European American. One of the great blessings I've had as an adult is not to be a hyphenated American. I remember as a little kid, oh, you look Irish. And then I go, oh, I'd like to be Irish, or I'd like to be German. And when I was growing up, it wasn't cool to be German. However, let me just say this. We're all Americans. If America was so bad, why are so many people trying to move in? I mean, we love America. And in America, most of us smell good, right?
Here we are. How do we get here? You smell good. You look good.
Oh, that's better than smelling bad. Thank you.
I know. You smell great. You look great.
Man. By the way, that is Getting Grilled, brought to you by our friends at Hoagland Meat. Check them out today, hoaglandmeat.com. Great meat. If you're looking for a wonderful deal, a wonderful present for the Christmas season, hoaglandmeat.com. Idaho born, bred, and processed. They will deliver to your home anywhere in the Treasure Valley. Use the code Kevin Miller to get 10% off. Candio Talk Radio, let's get you to work safely and on time on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Installation Studio, heavy, steady traffic on the freeway as you're coming out of Canyon County into Ada County, Karcher Road, really from Lake on down to the freeway. Very busy right now. One minor fender bender working at Eagle Road near Magic View. That's right near the freeway. Dealing with backed up drains can be costly. Perfect Plumbing, Heating, and Air will clear your drain for just $29, serving Treasure Valley homeowners since 1984. Call or schedule at callperfectnow.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Appreciate that. Also appreciate our friends at Beacon Plumbing. Stop freaking, call Beacon today for all your plumbing needs. Fox News coming up. Big interview coming up with Brett Baer and Kamala Harris. We'll talk about it next. Ultra will join us, but first...
Here we are. How do we get here? You smell good. You look good.
Oh, that's better than smelling bad. Thank you.
I know. You smell great. You look great.
Can imagine what she's going to have with Vladimir Putin in Z. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Window World Boise, windowworldboise.com. Well, Congressman Fulcher, I thought I'd set you up for that one. Your reaction to that in-depth, insightful piece with the vice president.
Your comment was exactly what was going through my mind. What's your confidence level going to be if she's the one on the world stage representing the United States of America face to face with some of the most bright and I would say at the same time crooked leaders around the world? And it's not a very hopeful, boosting idea or thought process. So, Kevin, let's just hope and pray that that's not the situation we're looking at.
I would agree with you on that, Congressman Fulcher. So let's talk a little bit about the state of things, the state of the race, the state of the country. I guess we'll start with the House because, again, many people talk about, obviously, the White House, the Senate, but it's the House that really is the backbone of keeping everything safe and secure, sir. And we're glad that you're there for us.
Well, thank you for that. And that is true. And I think part of the reason for that is that's where appropriations begin. That's where the spending is addressed most significantly in the sense that that's where appropriations begin. And debt is such a major issue. If you were to have a tracking device on the 435 members of Congress, it'd be interesting to see that right now about who's going where and who's doing what for who and all that type of thing. Because there's a lot of that, including with myself. You try to take care of your own backyard first. You need to do that. Then you do what you can to try to help some others, and that's what I'm trying to do. That's what That's what most of us that are sitting members are attempting to do. You hate to use the analogy, this is a team sport, but it is a team sport in that sense. I mean, you have to have alliances. You have to be able to negotiate. You have to be able to work with others. And it certainly helps if you have most of the people that you're working with have a similar point of view and similar mindset. So that's the work that's going on. I would say it looks positive from my vantage point, which is a conservative Republican standpoint. It looks positive. It's not what I would like it to look like, but I think it's moving in the right direction. I think if you could foresee the outcome, there's probably not a lot of people, especially with the presidential race, but I would say even with the House races, that probably don't really know who they're going to vote for. In other words, in the sense that people have made up their minds, I think they probably have. Now it's a function of getting the vote out, the voter turnout. But and then it's the down ticket. When I say down ticket, it's everybody else that's on the tickets after the presidential and potentially congressional seats. Those are the things that are left probably with the most questions at this point. But from my vantage point, for conservatives, I think there's going to be a small gain. That's at least how it looks like right now. And, we've only got a 2-vote margin when it comes to the swing internally. So,
Congressman Fulcher, we're gonna pardon the interruption. We're gonna ask you to stand by. We're gonna have Bo, if you could see if we could get him to call back in. That line is deteriorating, and hopefully it's just a bad line. We'll get the congressman to call back. We do apologize for that. Sometimes these things are beyond our control, and we want to make sure that we get the most accurate and updated information to you. By the way, on our website, a couple of great stories that we put up for you. You think to yourself, what about the future of Idaho? Congressman Fulcher obviously can tell you about his years and generations of Fulchers in Idaho. But the future of the family farms in Idaho, we take a look at that. And we also take a look at some of the coffee that is sold in the state, some good, some bad. And you can check those stories out on our website, KIDOtalkradio.com. Other great stories, of course, people are talking about, how should we put this, Boise State, Ashton Genty, and how an Idaho ghost town is only 3 hours from an Idaho town, only 3 hours from Boise, got washed away. So we will take a look at that. You can take a look at that anytime on our website, KIDOtalkradio.com. Now, the Ashton Genty thing is really amazing. If you are a big fan of a program called College Game Day on ESPN, they did a show where they had Ashton Genty on or not. They profiled him, and people that are fans of the Washington State Cougars, they have the big Cougar, old Crimson. There was a Ashton Genty Heisman flag, which was pretty cool on game day, or was a big noon kickoff. Anyway, that popularity of that young man continues. Back with our great friend Congressman Fulcher. And Congressman, we were at the point where you were talking about the battles within the country and how you're helping out, sir.
Well, thank you for that, and I apologize for the transmission. You never really know how you're being received, so thank you for the heads up on that. But I think that most people probably have made up their mind who they're going to vote for one way or the other, at least at the presidential and the congressional level. It's going to be the down ticket seats that are probably more undecided. As for me, and I think most members around the country, we're trying to take care of our own backyard first, and then it's frankly trying to help some friends work through some of the tougher elections across the country. So that's what's going on, Kevin. I'm generally positive. I think there's going to be a small gain for those of us on the conservative front, and Lord knows we need it.
Well, and then if you could, your thoughts on the Senate, because it seems to ebb and flow. We've talked about the race in Montana. Surprisingly, the race in Wisconsin has come home, and Nevada appears to be looking pretty good as well.
Well, because it's a presidential year, that has the biggest draw, and it's probably to the benefit of the Senate races, or at least from a vantage point of the conservatives. This cycle is more beneficial, or looks to be more beneficial to the conservative side than the more liberal in the Senate this time. As you know, the They've got 6-year rotating election cycles on the Senate side. And so who is up in those various races makes a big difference. But it's a presidential election year. There's, I would say, maybe 2 or 3 seats around the country. Wisconsin's one of them that probably wouldn't have been considered in play if it weren't for that, but it is. And so, I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what the turnout is like. Hopefully we're not going to have, some big disastrous cycle of hurricanes again that impacts the voter turnout. But most states do have provisions, good, bad, or indifferent, where you don't have to just vote on one particular day. To be honest, I've got anxiety about that because I think that tends to cause a lot of shenanigans in some places. But the reality is that most states have multiple options on how to vote, and it's up to us as the people to try to drive that turnout and get out and make our voices heard. And I think if that happens, and it happens on a broad scale, I think that the conservative vantage point prevails this year.
Congressman Russ Fulcher joining us, Kevin Mill in the Morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Congressman, there's been some talk, we talked about this last week, of possibly Congress being called back in session. The president is in favor of this to help the folks in the states that have been impacted by the hurricanes. Speaker Johnson on Meet the Press said, not so fast, my friend. Have you been hearing about this issue, and do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I have, and we've talked about it internally. We communicate over the phone even when we're not in D.C. a lot, and I'm talking about the GOP conference. From my view, if it weren't for the fact there's an election this close, this conversation probably wouldn't be happening at all. And it's not that we don't care about FEMA and the funding there, but the reality is there is adequate funding for now. This whole issue started months ago when the Department of Homeland Security budget process was appropriated, Kevin, and that's where the FEMA funding is located within the budget. This was approved, and that was one of the appropriations that got passed. The Senate did not hear it, so it lingers out there and stagnates in that case. So then you go to work with these continuing resolutions, or CRs, you heard that term, that actually, or the authorization to continue spending at previous levels. And so there was a couple fights over CRs, the continuing resolutions to keep the budget going. The first one, of course, had the provision in it that you needed to provide proof of citizenship for voting, which I thought was a very good idea. That failed. Then a second CR to Band-Aid the budget through the mid to third week of December. That actually passed. I did not support that. But the bottom line is the existing FEMA level of funding is in there. True, if there's another wave of hurricanes and natural disasters, that could be stretched. And if that were the case, I'm sure we'd probably get back together. But there's 2 points. Number one, the money is there for what's needed right now. Number two, if we have to go there for incremental funds, it's been my argument and the argument of Speaker Johnson and others that, look, we can't just print this up on the printing press or charge it to the credit card. We've got to take the money from somewhere else, and there's plenty of places to take it from. And in other words, don't create more debt with incremental FEMA funding. So that's what's at the basis for this fight over FEMA funding, Kevin.
Our great friend Congressman Fulcher joining us. Congressman, when we take a look at the state of Idaho, what's really in play? Obviously, ranked choice voting, a couple of other folks' issues as well. Your thoughts on what we face at the ballot?
There are a handful of legislative seats that are in play, and it's in various places around the state. To me, it doesn't seem like one of those years where there's going to be a big swing one way or the other. There's predictably tight districts around the state. You're going to see that pressure. You're going to see maybe a couple little surprises, but probably not any big, landslide one side or the other. To me, the Prop 1 issue is probably the biggest single thing because it's hard to explain, and it sounds really good if you're not tuned in to how the election systems work and whatnot. Some people see, they're calling it open primary, which is that's only one, but a number of facets about all this. They don't want to talk about ranked choice voting, which is what it really does. They just want to say it's an open primary, and it sounds good, and it's deceiving. And unless you work with elections and you can see how these things are actually implemented, it's hard to describe just how bad this thing can be. And so that's my biggest single concern, because the messaging to try to explain it is simply not easy. And a lot of people might be thinking they're doing the right thing when, if they knew all the detail, they would be voting the other way. So that's probably my single biggest concern, is how that goes. But I think, at the same time, messaging is going out. And so I think that the people are pretty darn smart, really, when the attention gets drawn to an issue. And so I think it's going to work out okay. I think it'll be defeated. But nevertheless, we all got a lot of work to do, and it's that. And, of course, we've got the presidential cycle again, and that draws a lot of people to the polls. So that's just the encouragement to everybody. Don't forget to vote this year. Be informed. Do your best to understand what's going on, and when we need you.
Obviously, we do. We need you, Congressman Fulcher. Anything else that you'd like to add today, sir?
Well, while this is all going on, the world keeps on spinning, and with it, some of the things that are not the most pleasant. You've still got all the weather issues we're trying to deal with in the country. We've got 2 live wars that we're either directly or indirectly engaged with, and in our election. So this is a really important time for informed citizens to speak up and have their voices heard. And at the same time, here we are in Idaho, which is one of the best places to possibly be. So just be thankful for what we have. Let's try to keep it that way, and let's be engaged with the process, Kevin. And a special thanks to you for how you raise the issue, how you provide a forum for people to interact and pretty much tee up anything and everything. And what a great privilege it is that you do that, and I'm thankful that you'll let me participate periodically.
Well, it's called content, and we need great content, and that's what you deliver, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Congressman Fulcher, our great friend. We'll get your reaction next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, you're dope, man.
With their golf tournament, we're talking about smelling this morning.
Thank you.
I know. You smell great. You look great.
There we have it. Sweet William, what? I didn't press the button correctly?
Here we are. How do we get here? You smell good. You look good.
Oh, that's better than smelling bad. Thank you.
I know. You smell great. You look great.
By the way, this portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Window World Boise, windowworldboise.com. I will be getting my new windows coming in, and you go, Kevin Miller, it's all about you. Nope. Still time to get those windows done and save money when it comes to the big winter. Nobody likes to spend all that money going to the heating expenses, going to the power company, the gas company. Save money, get those windows, get them affordably, get great windows today from our friends at windowworldboise.com. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. As we also said, a story of development and a story of progress, if you will. It's on our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com. The end or the nearing the end of the great family farms in Idaho. Do we support that? And what happens when the family farms go away, whether it's CUNA, whether it's in Meridian on Chinden Road, or coming to a neighborhood near you? It seems like the good old family farm is leaving Idaho. And you think to yourself, what about Bessie? What about the dairy cows? What about everything else? I would agree with you. We need our family farms, and what are we going to do? Are we going to have the government support them? When you think about the farmers, there's no PTO. There's no holidays, especially the dairy farmers, and really the ranchers as well. But the dairy farmers got to milk those cows every day. And when you say milk the cows, you say, Let's get you to work safely and on time. KIDO Talk Radio. Dave Burnett standing by. Traffic. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin, from the G&G Insulation Studio. Traffic on the freeway continues heavy and steady as you're coming out of Candy County into Ada County, crossing the county line there in McDermott. Still working that minor fender bender on Eagle Road near Magic View, right near the hospital. Watch for that. Beat the cold weather and get a new high-efficiency heating and air system from Perfect Plumbing, Heating, and Air. For a limited time, get a $1,500 instant rebate on select systems. Visit callperfectnow.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Thank you very much, Dave Burnett. As we move along, a story that we haven't gotten to is the story in Caldwell, where we have the student arrested after bringing a weapon to school. This was last week. You think about whether it's Caldwell or wherever else, this has to be the scariest thing ever for parents, school shootings, and how to prevent them. Let's talk about it next. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 436-580 KIDO. I'm looking at this story in Caldwell, and it's very easy to sit there and say, well, Caldwell this, Caldwell that, but not only in Caldwell, but in Meridian or wherever else, Boise, Homedale, this is everybody's worst fear, that you would have somebody bringing a firearm to school. I believe Boise had an issue as well. And obviously the gun-free zones aren't working. Do you take a look at parents and punishing them? I think the incident in Georgia, obviously the father was negligent. Now I was talking to a young man by the name of Dylan yesterday, and he loves the Second Amendment. He served in America. He's a really great guy. He's getting ready to join our team here. And, it's all about responsibility. And just like there are some good talk show hosts, some boneheaded talk show hosts, some good people in the military, some people that aren't good in the military, you have parents that are good and bad. I mean, I can remember during my brief time teaching professionally, you could always tell the kids that had great parents, because all you had to do was tell the parent, hey, your kid's misbehaving, and the kid shaped up. And it's really odd, the whole circle of life. I can remember student teaching in my 20s and then substitute teaching, and it was really odd because when you're at a certain age, because of your limited life experience, you don't have the perspective. And the older you get, the more you physically deteriorate, but you mentally appreciate. And you can wonder what those conversations were like, the 20-year-old Kevin Miller versus the 50-some-year-old Kevin Miller or the 70-year-old Kevin Miller, whatever, and apply that to yourself. And, when you take a look at security resource officers, apparently they had to cut them because of the budget. Which brings back to this is Caldwell High School. This brings back to a broader question, which is very tough for security officers. Security guards as security guard Mike will tell you, first of all, they're usually the greatest people ever. I was a security guard, but they're not police officers. And I think it's incumbent upon the people in Caldwell, the school board in Caldwell, because remember, it was the Trakels, Senator Trakel and his wife Nicole, that exposed the whole, and a lot of other conservatives exposed the whole, we're going to let the boys in the girls' bathroom. And then all of a sudden the school board didn't like that when the people said, you work for us, buddy, bub. You work for us, bub. And it shows you, and again, from my outside perspective, our outside perspective, that if you're having an issue that is broadcast in the media where somebody is bringing a weapon to school and you can't have a homecoming parade, or I'm sorry, you're moving it because of security concerns, I think it's time to bring in the police. I mean, you have a great chief there, Chief Ingram. Maybe one day we'll get the chief on the program. I know the chief's busy. He's a nice chief. Look, we just had Chief Dennison in from Boise. I get it. The world doesn't revolve around us as much as we think that it would and should. Most of the time, these guys and gals are doing a great job, and we don't want to distract from that, but we'd love to have those folks on, dealing with this situation. And look, we always talk about being fiscally responsible, but not having police officers in those schools puts an incredible strain on those security officers. And then you have, look, I'm not making this up. It was in the press, and if it's in the media, it has to be true. You've got the situation involving gangs. Look, we went to Caldwell High School. I don't know if that principal is still there. She didn't like us. And look, I'm always going to be honest with you. Boise didn't like us because we covered Ammon Bundy. We got booted from the Boise district. Kevin, that's 5, 6, 7 years ago. Get over it. I'm telling you the truth. Sometimes people don't want you in their schools. Columbia High School, they love us there. We could go there any time. I love Columbia High School. Bishop Kelly, Nampa Christian. I think it's a vibrant, dynamic part of the community to talk to educators. But Caldwell was the first time they tried to say that we called the kids prisoners. No, it's actually the prisoners. The kids called themselves prisoners there. This is a challenging dynamic for parents and kids, and obviously, where's the leadership? Now, the mayor's going to tell you, we're not over the schools. Here's one, and again, this is one of the reasons why I have always told you my time with you is limited. Because sooner or later, we're going to cross someone, and it's just not it's going to be somebody that we shouldn't mess with. Now, we've crossed governors, we've crossed leaders of political parties, we've crossed the mayor of Boise, the mayor of Meridian, anyone, anytime, anywhere. That's how I was brought up in talk radio, almost 30 years. But if I'm the Secretary of Education or the state school superintendent, remember we used to give Tom Luna such a hard time? And that you may not know this, but Tom Luna, when he was the state school superintendent, they slashed his tires and messed up his truck. Yeah, that was thuggery. But I think if Tom Luna were there or Sherry Abar were there, they wouldn't be making commercials about the school lunch program or whatever the current superintendent's doing. And she's a very nice lady. She was put in there by the establishment, Superintendent Critchfield. But if I were her or the State Board of Education, I'd be calling Caldwell, maybe they are, and saying, what can I do to help? We don't need any of that here. We don't need that anywhere in our country. But to sit there and go, well, there's nothing we can do. Yeah. The school board, okay, here's an example. Have a bake sale, a car wash for SROs. I'll go out there and I'll wash cars. I'll do shows from there. Yeah, that's right. We'll go out there and do fundraisers for security resource officers. Get the police in there. Is anybody really sounding the alarm? Maybe I'm missing something, but this is serious stuff. Well, Kevin, that's just the way it is. Well, Kevin. No, Kamala. We're not talking about this. Well, you better let her talk, Kevin. I know that's a horrible Clinton. Well, not so bad. Hey, Kamala, what are you doing? See what I'm saying? We talk politics. And we can talk about this guy sniffing Kamala, which is, again, inappropriate, rude, and just plain vulgar. Or we could sit there and say at 580-5436-580-KIDO, to me, and I know a lot of people don't like the stop and frisk. I know a lot of people don't like the Kevin Miller loves the police. I know you're going to say, well, you got this big trial going on in Meridian today, Kevin, you and your police officers. Yeah, I get that. But I'd rather err on the side of caution than have a tragedy, wouldn't you?
Here we are. How do we get here? You smell good. You look good.
Oh, that's better than smelling bad. Thank you.
I know. You smell great. You look great.
Yeah. School shootings, 580-5436-580-KID. I'd love to hear from you. Your thoughts next. And maybe you're close to the Caldwell situation. Maybe you're close to the Boise situation. Let's be heard next. Kevin Miller.
For U.S. House Judiciary Committee. His testimony comes as a U.S. House panel investigates his relationship with Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. The testimony will be a closed-door session, and last month that committee struggled to find Wade leading up to a subpoena saga, so the U.S. Marshal stepped in with helping to serve him. The Judiciary Committee is looking for testimony and documents from both Willis and Wade about the ongoing Fulton County election interference case. A letter shared on X yesterday addressed to House Judiciary Chairman Ohio Representative Jim Jordan. D.A. Willis says in part, quote, Mr. Wade has been instructed not to answer any questions that seek to solicit information about his role or underlying evidence in the office's investigation of unlawful efforts to interfere with the 2020 presidential election in Georgia.
There we have it, the latest there. Boy, this is great. Chief Ingram joining us now on KIDO Talk Radio from Caldwell. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you for joining us. I know you're very busy, and obviously you're very concerned about what's going on in Caldwell with all these situations. And I know you're here to set me straight, so thank you for joining us, sir.
No, nothing to be set straight. Just happy to be on and happy to continue showcasing the great work that our men and women do every single day. They come to work and put their badge on and go out there and protect and serve.
Well, it is a challenge. Certainly these news reports, I know you know the details behind this, where you've got the homecoming parade called off. You don't have the police officers in the schools. Can you tell us what it's like on the ground there, sir?
Well, it's a very unfortunate situation because the levy didn't pass for their funding. So I would encourage people to actually get out and vote. And, safer schools mean safer communities. And it starts with having police officers in the schools that are able to lead, guide, train, mentor, motivate, counsel these kids and be there for them. Not just providing the security piece, but also providing that big brother, big sister, mentorship platform that our police officers do every single day that they never get credit for. And so, obviously, there's been a lot of national threats at schools recently, and Idaho is not immune to that. So, with that being said, the first and foremost thing that we are that we try to do every day is make sure that our kids are safe in schools. And it was unfortunate that the homecoming parade and that stuff was called off a couple weeks ago. But we are going to be doing one this Friday. We will have our police horses in the parade. We will have a high visibility presence in the parade, so there will be no issues. I'm very confident of that. Just last week, there was a kid that had a gun at school. Without getting into details, obviously it's still an ongoing investigation. There doesn't appear to be any threat from that child that was going to be harming anyone. From what I know, it's someone that was afraid that he was going to get hurt, so he brought a gun to school. That's usually the case. So, but without the SROs there present, it poses a big challenge. The good news is that we just got awarded a grant from Caldwell School District to provide one SRO, and we're super excited about that. We just can't deploy them quite yet. We have to figure out our deployment, but they should be in the school by the first of the year.
Chief Rex Ingram joining us, Caldwell PD, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Chief, again, you deal with people across the country. You're always training. You're training up. This would be everybody's worst fear, these shootings in schools, and you can only do so much to prevent them. What would you say to the public to help out the police?
Well, as a father of 4 school-age children, that's obviously my biggest fear in the entire world is, getting the call that my kids are under attack at their school. So I can assure the public that we do everything we can, humanly possible, to ensure that their children, which is the most vulnerable population of our country, are protected while they're in school. That should be a safe haven for kids to go and an academic environment learn. And so even though we don't have officers assigned to the Caldwell School District right now, I can assure the public that we have every resource that is committed to protecting their kids should a problem arise. Now, I will say that they have private security there, that a lot of those security guards are former police officers that are working there and, retired. It's still safe. But the piece that's missing is the guiding, the mentoring, the counseling, the big brother, big sister type of relationship that we have with these kids, which oftentimes that's crime prevention, right? The reality is, are we going to have a school shooting here? Probably not. But, we are always preparing. We're always getting our officers ready to go if that call comes in.
Chief Ingram, you bring up a good point on KIDO Talk Radio, one that isn't really emphasized a lot in the media, the role of police mentoring kids.
That's right. That's a huge thing. There's two ways we reduce crime in our community, and this is nationally, is crime prevention and reactionary. So the way we prevent crime is by having relationships with our men and women that are out there in the community, and it starts with the kids, and a lot of these gang shootings and stuff that are happening are prevented merely because we have a relationship with a child who has knowledge about something that's going to happen, and they share that with the officer. They're not going to share that with anyone else that they're not comfortable with. And so I'm very proud of the people that we have working here that have those relationships that can relate to these kids because they are from the community and they understand the struggles these children face.
Chief Ingram, what about, we've been hearing about I'm sure you've heard this, the Venezuelan gangs in Canyon County and such. Again, you're an expert on this stuff. You're on the front lines. What can you tell us about the gangs and the fight against them, sir?
So, we haven't had any, there are no Venezuelan ties here to Caldwell. I know there's a lot of scuttlebutt out there about the sheriff putting misinformation out. That's all BS. The fact is that we, in our gang unit, which is one of 2 gang units in the county, have no confirmed reports of TDA operating in Canyon County. Now, I will tell you, there is one case that happened almost a year ago where we had 4 Venezuelan nationals, unknown if they are TDA, that came up from Utah to do a robbery in Caldwell. And I know there's a lot of people that are concerned about Big Brother and our LPR systems and stuff, and a lot of your listeners right now. And my message to them is the only way we caught these 4 idiots that came up from Utah to commit a robbery, a jewelry store robbery, which we believe is possibly an inside job here, was the use of our LPR system. And it would have been the smoke and gun. We would have never been able to catch these idiots had we not had this technology, which we rolled out literally 3 days prior. So the information that Sheriff Donahue put out about in his press release about we don't have any confirmed reports, that is accurate. And I stand behind our sheriff. He knows best as well. But I just think that there's information out there that is fear-mongering that I, as the chief of police, will tell you is simply not happening here. Do we have kids that are Mexican nationals that are here or other Hispanic, kids that are here operating that are, that are selling narcotics and stuff? Absolutely. But they are not the Venezuelan TDA people that Fox News reported a couple weeks ago.
Chief Ingram, we appreciate it. And once again, it's all on me. I'll do what I can. We'd love to hang out with you and the crew. I know you're always working, sir. And I know,
absolutely.
We appreciate you and thank you for joining us impromptu, sir.
Love to have you out on a ride along, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
You too.
Our great friend, Chief Ingram from Caldwell, calling in. We always support the police. Fry Sauce, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Good morning, Kevin. I was listening to those adjectives that the police chief was giving, somebody big brother, representative, good quality leader, stable person, even-tempered. I want to speak to the community that isn't often represented in most city councils, and that's an individual, a man or woman, that possesses a unique identification, and it's called a DD-214. And I think that if you would get those individuals that possess such an item with an honorable discharge, that DD-214 with 2 magazines or 2 clips, you would have a willing volunteer to, hang out at the schools and patrol the hallways. And, that's my solution to a lot of these problems with, the public vulnerabilities.
By the way, for those who aren't familiar, when you get discharged honorably from the military, you get the DD-214 Fry Sauce. That's what you're referring to. Thank you, Fry Sauce. Appreciate it. Let's go to Pro, who's getting a lot of underground support in the community. In fact, a lot of people go, I love it when you talk to Pro. Pro, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio, Pro-Life.
Yeah, well, it shows that there's some people knowing that we have to go back to God. But anyway, I want to talk about the public schools. A police officer in a school, he can get order in the school. He can prevent the children from hurting each other. But suppose a kid is an LGBTQ messed up kid. That officer cannot counsel that
Are you trying to think that they're going to hit on the officer?
What? No.
Are they going to hit on the officer?
Yeah. Suppose they hit on the officer. Well, he can't do anything about it. He can't tell them, hey, listen, you're totally out of bounds. God wants you to not do this kind of stuff. He can't say that because of our culture. It's illegal for the officer to, I guess, spiritually counsel somebody. So that shows that our schools are broken. And but they are broken because of communist education. The 10th summary point of the Communist Manifesto is free education for all children in public schools, unquote.
Now, what happens if we got rid of public education like you're always talking about?
Well, it'd be
you'd have a lot of people would be raised by TikTok. Do you want that, sir?
No, they wouldn't be raised by TikTok.
Yes, they would. They're practically raised by TikTok now.
No.
TikTok. By the way, pro-life,
Yeah.
what do you make of that? You ever smelled somebody? Are you a sniffer?
I've smelled people.
You've smelled people? Why are you sniffing people?
No, I don't. The only person I sniff is my wife. And but anyway.
Oh, okay, pro-life. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Public education can't bring God into the child's life. But if the whole culture, if we would go a few generations of having God in our schooling, then nobody would pay any attention to TikTok. Or else TikTok would be a Christian TikTok.
We need to get Christian TikTok. What would happen if somebody said this to you?
Here we are. How do we get here? You smell good. You look good.
Oh, that's better than smelling bad. Thank you.
I know. You smell great. You look great. Do you?
Is that very present? Is that presidential?
No. I mean, I'd smell Kamala if she'd laugh like that. I'd love to hear. I love that crazy laugh that she has. But I want to make a comment about the presidential election. See, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they're total communists. And so they're relying on the media to cover them and make them look like normal people, and so they can win the election. Because they can't speak about what they really believe in, or people would reject it. And so that's why it's so weird that they talk about all this stupid stuff. They go pheasant hunting. Kamala talks about cooking or whatever, and it's just nonsense because they can't speak about what they really believe. And the media covers for them because it's a communist media. And so we're in a... And nobody's fighting back about it. I don't. I fight back every day about it.
I fight back every day, too. Pro-life, thank you for the call. Appreciate you. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Don't forget our friends at Window World Boise, windowworldboise.com.
Here we are. How do we get here? You smell good.
Okay, I'm tired of that guy smelling her. How about some traffic? KIDO Talk Radio, let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Insulation Studio, traffic on the freeway heavy and steady as you're on the freeway coming out of Caney County into Ada County, crossing at McDermott over the county line on down to the Meridian Road area. 10 Mile and Heartland still working an accident there in Cuna. Looking for something fun to do tonight? Well, take your family and friends to Haunted World for an hour and a half of incredible scares that you won't find anywhere else. For more, go to hauntedworld.org. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
And appreciate that. Don't forget the free KIDO Talk Radio app. Lots of great stories on our website as well. I'll look at Ashton Genty's Heisman run. And, of course, a story about defending the family farm. Do you want to thank Chief Ingram for joining us? If you missed him, you can always check that out on our podcast, available on Spotify, Google, and the free KIDO Talk Radio app. Beacon Plumbing brings you Fox News. Good morning. Do they still teach that? Let's hope that they do. Joining us now, a guy that knows all about dosey and dosing and dosey and doing and Paranide this and Promenade that is Dave Petso. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. Wow, that's a blast to the past. They do square dance still, don't they? I mean,
I hope so. I hope they teach it in school. That was a fun class.
Yeah. I thought the cool kids didn't square dance, so
I was always the sweaty one. Nobody ever wanted to square dance with me.
I was just scared of girls, so there you go.
Well, I think you got over that fear.
I did. Yes, we all do.
Yeah, we all do. So where do you think we're going to begin today, Dave Petso? I have I have another one, another homage to Dave Petso here in a minute. Can you guess where we're going at all?
Well, let's see. The market's at all-time highs. We could start there. That sounds fun, but I'm guessing you're going to run somewhere else.
Too easy.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you the best investment that people can make, and you can get a deal on this for only, I don't want to tell Dave Petso how much I pay, for $4 a month. You get the Wall Street Journal package, or maybe even if it's $4 a week, you get the Wall Street Journal digital package, which includes Barron's, includes Market Watch. Now, I can't tell you the ups and the downs, but the stories within the Wall Street Journal are so good, so incredible. So there's a story in the Wall Street Journal that I thought of you, and it's something that you've preached many times, and it really is reminiscent of our old friend Dan Long. And do you know where I'm going with this, or do I still have you?
You're going there with the HVAC buyout story.
Yes, the idea that here's the headline from the Wall Street Journal, and I think a lot of people can really relate to this in the Treasure Valley. America's new millionaire class plumbers and HVAC entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it is. It's really stunning. And Kevin, you and I talked about this not long ago about how all of these things are popping up and driven, like the article points out, by private equity. It is consolidating these into large regional firms and then even national firms. And so I have a friend that is on their second buyout because a lot of these have stock in them. Well, like Petso Financial, same thing. We're finishing our merger this week, and it is backed by private equity. It's an amazing thing that's coming into Main Street from Wall Street. So it's very interesting.
Well, that's in a lot of people, without revealing whom or what, would be surprised that a lot of companies here are owned by private equity.
Yes, they would be. People don't realize how far that stretches nowadays, and they're continuing to look for opportunities. And it's people equate private equity with, let's say, a startup idea in Silicon Valley. True, that's absolutely true. They'll also equate it with big real estate deals, right, or loans, and Wall Street stuff. But they don't think about it as Main Street investments, and it really has gotten to that point. With our deal, they sent somebody representing private equity. They don't just mail it in. They want to know what's going on and take an active interest and approve or disapprove every deal they do. So it's not just a blank check. They bring expertise, business expertise to bear, and that's the attraction, if you will, over regular banking.
Right. And it really is. You have a lot of people that have put in a lot of time and then they're out, or some continue working.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's exactly right. Many continue on. In all of the deals, the founders are very typically so closely associated with the company that there is, at the very least, a workout period, because you're not coming in and spending tons of money to watch a business disintegrate. If the founder, the main salespeople, however you want to phrase it, leave. And so it is a fascinating thing that people do stay on, sometimes for long periods of time, because they love what they do. That's certainly our intention at Petso, or soon to not be Petso, or a blended name, but we have no intention of leaving, because we're handing over the garbage and getting to keep the fun. So that's the attraction for people that enjoy the basic trade or what it is they do.
So you decided to go public with this, huh? Or maybe you have already.
Oh yeah. Well, we have been, and we told all of our clients a long time ago. We just weren't public with it until all of our clients knew. And so we are. As a matter of fact, there'll be a big announcement at the end of this month with the Boise Rescue Mission. We're taking this opportunity to go big with the community and go big with Reverend Bill. So I'm sure you'll be involved in that too. So it's a fun time. It's an interesting time. It's been a very long year getting us ready, but we're looking forward to that going forward. You bet.
Dave Petso joining us, the Petso Center, Petso Financial. So I'm going to ask you to get political here. I know you don't like to do that. And what do you make of that the race essentially is tied? Kamala has a ton of money, a ton of resources. Yep. By all rights, it should be over, but it isn't. And as you've detailed, Donald Trump is not Mr. Happy a lot of times. So why do you think that this has tightened up so much?
I think it's because of the cult of personality here. Donald Trump is a very difficult person to like for a whole lot of people. They may like his policies. I think my wife hit it best when she said, "You don't have to like the man to like his policies," and thought put that on a hat or a bumper sticker. And I think she's right. I think that's the gist of it of Donald Trump. The problem he has is there are so many people that really can't stand the man, and I mean to the point that they are voting for an empty suit. I don't even know how to explain her, except she's completely vacant of anything of substance. She has accomplished nothing in her life, I can see, except sleeping with the right people to get to the right place. But as a senator, hopeless. As a professional or presidential candidate, hopeless. She happens to be successful at being a black woman at the right time when JoJo needed something woke, I guess. I don't get it. I don't understand where we are as a country, and I don't know why her, but it is now here we are. And so you have a completely empty suit, and that's our idea. We're going to go up against Xi Jinping in China. We're going to go against Putin in Russia and the Iranian nut jobs, and we are going to have the same policies doubled down on stupid. This is just not going to go well, and I just got to believe at the end of the day, Kevin, that people are going to go, I don't care how much I don't like that guy. I got to keep my family safe. This is ridiculous. And I hope that's the case, Kevin, but that's why it's close in my mind. Because you're right, the policies they're not close.
Our great friend Dave Petso with us. Now, we've been playing this clip all morning long, and I'm going to ask you, would you hire this person?
Here we are. How do we get here? You smell good. You look good.
Oh, that's better than smelling bad. Thank you.
I know. You smell great. You look great.
Can you really take that person, that would be the vice president, seriously if you were hiring for anything, Dave Petso?
People will watch whatever program that was. I mean, that's just unbelievable to me. I mean, that's the interview question. That's what you come up with. The whole thing is so, empty of anything of substance. What are you going to do? I'd smell good. That's what we need. We're joy. I'm going to bring joy. I'm the joy captain of the universe. No, I mean, but what are you going to do? You're the most powerful woman in the world, person in the world. Joy. I'm going to bring joy. It's just remarkable. I don't know how you vote for something like that. Can you imagine that cackle for 4 years?
Whoa.
It's unbelievable to me. So, Kevin, of course you don't hire somebody like that. That's just, I wouldn't hire the person that had that. That's the big interview question. Welcome. And now I'm going to be really stupid and ask you a stupid question. I have no idea how this candidacy is being run except out of a basement. I think it's just a different version of JoJo's basement candidacy in 2020.
Our great friend Dave Petso joining us, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. We've all been living in a great run. People talking about the bull market, the 3-year anniversary yesterday. Some say it could go as high as 12 years during after the 1987 crash. But we take a look at some things that could be disruptive, and you've always counseled against about never too high, never too low, stay the course. But this war in the Middle East, usually, and Dave Petso, you and I grew up in the 70s, when there was an issue, when there was just a hiccup in the Middle East, our gas prices would go through the roof. That hasn't happened yet, but how concerning is it? What hotspot do you see that could be disruptive to our financial markets here?
Yeah, it's a great question, Kevin. It really is. It's one that I have talked a fair amount about on Money Matters, and I always have to say this cautiously. because whenever I'm cautious, I hear people say, "Oh, you're bearish. You think we ought to sell? Or is there problems? What are you worried about?" Because I'm always, positive. I'm always positive in the long run. That's what's not reasonable about the thought process. I think people have to be able to change their minds. But when the economy's good, interest rates are low, and things like that, then you just quit worrying about it. You just own it, and we get corrections, and you keep owning. But Kevin, right now, it's a circumstance where there's a lot of fires in the world. And obviously, it's a big deal, this election. I hate saying this because I hate the fact that elections can be this important to the markets, because business does what it needs to do, and it will. Don't get me wrong. Big corporations are going to be fine. But smaller companies and the economy in general are not going to be okay with Kamala and higher taxes and more stupid regulations. The idea that is going to be okay with the market, in my mind, it is not. And I mean more the small and mid cap. Do I think Google and Amazon can survive? Of course, they'll thrive. They'll thrive no matter what. And so the big companies will continue to do okay. But when we get into a circumstance where so we have the election, it might not go right. That's a big deal. It certainly is over the next 6 months, in my mind. It doesn't mean you wait until the election to invest. The market is anticipating what's going on all the time. The second part is is sort of the Middle East. But to me, it's also China. It's even more so China. The Middle East is still kind of, compared to our technology and Israel's technology, pretty rudimentary, as we're seeing. And so I don't worry as much about that. The only thing I worry about is our lack of will to destroy Iran. And that I do worry about, because they continue to get stronger whenever we back away. So I do worry about the hot spots there, but I think that particularly China could take advantage of this. And I worry about 1,000 known terrorists, according to our left-wing FBI. So the number we all know is higher, much higher. Known terrorists in the country that they worry about. With today's weaponry, poisons, everything, Kevin, I do worry about a massive, well-planned attack, way more than anything else, to be honest with you. So yes, there's many fires out there raging because we have opened the borders and we do not carry any kind of presence globally to keep peace.
More coming up with our great friend Dave Petso, the Petso Center, Petso Financial, and of course, host of Money Matters right here on KIDO Talk Radio. Money Matters, 8 to 10 Saturdays on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's talk a little bit about the business of Idaho. How would you judge the state if you were giving it a grade?
Oh, I give it an A. You can always do things better, so I'll keep it from an A+. But I am really impressed that the move of our government towards more productive solutions, real solutions, creative solutions. As you know, Kevin, I'm very vocal about how government destroys things. Regulation is worse than taxes for destroying a business. It's and we just we wave it away. It's kind of like we just accept that the tax code is over 1 million words, and the IRS, when you call them, they don't know what the answer to the question is. So how do you prepare your taxes? I mean, all of these things we take for granted, and so I don't want to overstate this, but when you have a state, certainly by comparison, if we're going to give comparable grades, this is where business comes, because they get rid of the regulation. They don't get rid of it, excuse me. It's not like we pour chemicals into the water, but we make it easier for business. You and I have talked many times and marvel about what's happened down in Magic Valley with Chobani and such, because they can, in 1 year, they can actually make the plans and build a factory. In California, they can't even finish a high-speed rail or the permitting on it in a 10-year period. This is something else when you think about how we pave it for them. Our tax rates are okay. They're not great. It's middle. They could be better, and I think they're trying to do some things. But I'm just absolutely think they're doing a great job trying to come up with solutions for juvenile detention and all these other things. It's very pro-business, very business-like running, and let good people run with great ideas. try things, and Idaho seems free to do that. I'm impressed.
Obviously, we still have our challenges when it comes to dealing with the infrastructure, though.
Totally, and we always will. I mean, you say, well, we'll build it, and then they'll come. And at one time, I have to say, we did do that. And when the Flying Y was first put in, well before your time, Kevin, we had so many lanes, and it was crazy. We were, how are we ever going to need this many lanes? And now we need more, right? And so we were ahead. They rightly used that corridor great. And so I'm not going to say it never happens, but on the other hand, you're correct. You go out to any area where they're putting in subdivision after subdivision, and there's very inadequate roads going in. It's crowded everywhere we go. It's just we're moving from a small city to a medium size, even medium large, and that's just the function of it. Idaho has been discovered, and sorry about that, Dave. Your Boise is gone. It is gone. It's gone forever. It doesn't mean it's not the best spot in the world. It still is.
Then we have people concerned, obviously, about the taxes going up and, these bond issues, because the legislature passed a thing where the property taxes didn't automatically kick in, and you have people, doing without this growing Idaho concern. But is that a concern of business?
Well, it always is. It always should be. I think business puts its head down and goes, right? It figures out how to operate. If I'm running back to our prior example, I'm running an HVAC place in Boise, that's what I'm running. It's not like I'm going to pull up shop and go somewhere else. So this is what I'm running, and I deal with whatever they throw at me. We have to raise costs or whatever we have to do to cover stupid regulations. Who knows? But people fix equipment in California, and that's the nuttiest place in the whole wide world to do business, probably outside of China. So you have absolute crazy people telling you what to do. I think generally business just operates and does their thing, pays their taxes, and moves on. It's great to have a format like this where I can even point out to people that have no idea that there's the CCDC downtown that takes takes in millions of dollars and then doles it out to whoever they want. I mean,
what is the CCD? What would you say CCD?
That's the Capital City Development Corporation. And so what they do is that they have gotten themselves a taxing district so that they can collect additional taxes, and it's not small. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's thousands of dollars they collect just on my little building a year, and millions of dollars. And then they get to just sit around a table of unelected officials and dole it out to themselves or their friends. And it's an absolutely insane, obviously, it's the definition of corruption. I take money and then I give it away to who I want to. It is, I'm sure they don't think they're corrupt, but it is the definition of corruption. And so this is the kind of thing, but without your format, Kevin, people outside of that or outside of ownership downtown don't even know it exists. And so that's one of the, local things that it is problematic. And it just doesn't seem to matter to elected officials because they're also powerful people. These are powerful developers, things like that. They get things done in this town, and they know the people, and they make political contributions to the people. It doesn't make it right. It just is what it is, and there are problems with it. But anyway, you give us the format to talk about things like that, or none of us would know about it. So appreciate you, and hats off to that. But nothing's perfect. Most of the time, businesses put their head down and keep going. And if you raise taxes and do stuff, then the renters in the building just pay more.
Well, and again, you see the disaster that is downtown Boise with the congestion and the road construction. What do you make of the red light cameras that Boise City Council has decreed and ACHD has bent the knee? There really hasn't been a lot of resistance to that outside of this program.
Yeah, I don't. To me, it's another privacy issue. I just don't. And maybe I don't go running around, running red lights. But,
hold on, there's Dave. There he is. There's Petso running the red light. Everybody.
Yeah, he's really ticked up because I love doing that. But I'm like everybody else. Sometimes you're just like humming along, and you look up, and there's that light, and it's pretty yellow by the time you get through it.
and or it's a really busy time. I mean, I'm really happy to see a couple of people in that turn lane go, right before the traffic turns, and it's clearly red. We all appreciate that because then and my turn's next, right? I don't have to wait through 3 lights. It's a good thing, and yet I'm with those cameras there. Does that mean nobody's going to do that? I just don't see our traffic problems being so bad that people are just like dying every day in Boise, Idaho because of red light violations. I just don't like the privacy side.
Anything else we should be looking out for this week?
Earnings. It's all about earnings, Kevin. It is right now. I know we're getting close to the election, but corporations are killing it. And back to what we talk about all of the time, that's what drives markets, and they are killing it. Look at the banking earnings again, even this morning. Goldman Sachs came out with unbelievable earnings. J.P. Morgan on Friday. These companies are really doing it. And when you have record cash flows, record dividends, record profits, the market ought to be at all-time highs. Wow, it is. Isn't that crazy? And so here we are at all-time highs, but corporations are deserving it because of the amazing cash flows and the amazing job they're doing.
Finally, any more fallout, do you believe, of the Albertsons-Kroger merger? I notice in the Fred Meyer, they're starting to brand a lot of stuff as Kroger recently.
Yeah, I don't know if they're Kevin. I've said this obviously many times over the past. Gosh, it seems like it's now a couple of years, hasn't it, since this thing has been trying to be talked about. I think that the only thing we don't like is we all want our local grocery store, but they're going to go away whether they merge or they don't. And so I think we need to also understand that this is a very important merger to both of these companies. They're very small out there compared to Costco, Amazon, and Walmart. We're not without competition, high-level competition. And Kamala's a nut job. Obviously, she gleaned onto something that's just beyond the pale stupid, and that is that the grocery stores are gouging people. I mean, this is absurd, ridiculous, because we're watching grocery stores go out of business, and it's not a recent phenomena. And their margins, when they get it right, are like 2%. It's not a high-margin business. It's very tight, and I don't want to see all the stores go away. I think it's an important merger, Kevin. But, again, even if they get it through this one, there's lawsuits waiting on the other side with a bunch of states. So I think it's going to be a long time before we find out.
Dave Petso, Money Matters. We appreciate you, sir. Good luck on the merger.
Appreciate you. Hey, well, thank you, Kevin. It's great. It's fun. It's exciting, and I appreciate you and this program, and it's just going to give us an opportunity going forward to be growing again as our great city is, and so we're excited. And so anyway, look for more coming up. We'll talk about it on Saturday too.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dave. Take care.
Thank you.
Our great friend Dave Petso. Kevin Rowe in the morning. Don't forget our friends at Beacon Plumbing. Beacon Plumbing. Stop freaking. Call Beacon. BeaconPlumbing.net for all your plumbing needs. Let's get you to work safely and on time. KIDO Talk Radio Traffic. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Insulation Studio, here comes that bright sunshine as you're traveling eastbound on the freeway on Chinna Boulevard, State Street. You're going to be battling that on your way into work. Good news is no major accidents working right now to get in the way. With Horizons Momentum HELOC, your home today can be your dream of tomorrow. Visit hzcu.org to learn how. OAC, Equal Opportunity Lender, NMLS 407890. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Facts. One example, the border. Migration is at its lowest level since the Trump administration, but the polls show that not everyone sees it that way, do they?
That's right, John. CBS News asked voters whether the Biden-Harris administration tried to reduce the number of migrants at the southern border. So 67% of Democrats said yes, and 65% of Republicans, almost the exact same number, said the opposite, that the administration actually tried to increase the number of migrants.
Well, they didn't try, they did. And the only reason why they cut the spigot off is because they want to get the vice president elected. They wanted to get Joe Biden elected. Good morning once again. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. You know, we didn't give Columbus Day a big enough tribute yesterday. A lot of people are saying why are we bagging on Christopher Columbus? Without Columbus, we would not have the United States of America. And here you have the Marxist Kamala Harris thinks this holiday celebrating the discovery of the great Americas is a bad thing. The birth of Western civilization, the creation of the one lone country that has saved the world how many times? The country named after Amerigo Vespucci, if you will. Think about that for a minute. Here you have, without the United States of America, you would not have, it was the indigenous people that really did things. Were they? Was it really the indigenous people? So again, we have...
support efforts on a federal level to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, and why does that matter so much? Sure.
This is from a town hall meeting in 2020.
Sure. Yeah. And why it matters is, to your very point, we have to remember history. And this question, I think, really is connected to the last question about our morals and our compass and our goals.
What is she saying?
Our aspirations.
Wow, our goals and our aspirations. Hey, I kind of like that. Shut up, Bill.
We have to remember our history. Uncomfortable, to your point about truths.
Would you support efforts?
Uncomfortable? Uncomfortable when you're talking about Christopher Columbus that risked everything? And again, I want to thank our friends, some of the contributors today at Red State that brought up some of these things, because it's fascinating what the internet has given us when we're looking at...
It is an honor.
When we're looking at just the frame of reference with these people.
Of course, to be with you this week as we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, as we speak truth about our nation's history. Since 1934, every October, the United States has recognized the voyage of the European explorers who first landed on the shores of the Americas. But that is not the whole story. That has never been the whole story.
What is she saying? The European explorers? You mean the people that founded America?
Those explorers ushered in a wave of devastation for tribal nations, perpetrating violence, stealing land, and spreading disease. We must not shy away from this shameful past. And we
must eliminate Columbus, the Europeans, and everything else. Back to one of the writers from Red State, the erasure of Columbus Day is more of an attack on you. Now, here from the movie, Bury Me at Wounded Knee, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. Here you have the meetings of the great chiefs, right? At the end of the big war, Sitting Bull, sitting across from Colonel Nelson Miles, discussing who should control the territory. Okay, they're looking at each other.
Sitting Bull requested this council. We await his words.
Take your soldiers out of here. They scare the game away.
Very well, sir. Tell me then, how far away should I take my men?
You must take them out of our lands.
What precisely are your lands?
These are the lands where my people lived before you whites first came.
I don't understand. We whites were not your first enemies. Why don't you demand back the land in Minnesota where the Chippewa and others forced you from years before?
The Black Hills are sacred land given to my people by Wakantonka.
Not very convenient to cloak your claims in spiritualism. And what would you say to the Mormons and others who believe that their God has given to them Indian lands in the West?
I would say they should listen to Wakantonka.
No matter what your legends say, you didn't sprout from the plains like the spring grasses, and you didn't coalesce out of the ether. You came out of the Minnesota woodlands, armed to the teeth, and set upon your fellow man. You massacred the Kiowa, the Omaha, the Ponca, the Oto, and the Pawnee without mercy. And yet you claim the Black Hills as a private preserve bequeathed to you by the Great Spirit.
And who gave us the guns and powder to kill our enemies? And who traded weapons to the Chippewa and others who drove us from our home?
Chief Sitting Bull, the proposition that you were a peaceable people before the appearance of the white man is the most fanciful legend of all.
And there you have it, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. Probably a movie you won't see around anymore. Let's get to your calls as we continue to honor Christopher Columbus. AJ and Caldwell, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, well, I noticed that the president running for Kamala Harris, is also married to a European descent. So, anyway, so here's the thing I wanted to say is that there's a scripture in the Bible which basically says that if it is just and it is immaculate in its conception, it is lovely to God. And with all of those things that we know, and our country's based on the whole idea of this, that God gave us every right that we have, that's the only thing that people should be concentrating on to move forward, who they elect in this upcoming election. And the issue, that Dave Petso brings up many times about Donald Trump not being Reagan-esque, not being what he would want him to be, I believe that it's really improper for him to say things that are, disparaging to Trump just because of his attitudes or what he is. You can't find a more successful person who has lived through bankruptcies and everything to be where he's at and still forged ahead. That's tenacity. There's countless people. Henry Ford was one of them. There's all kinds of people that made their claim on America and did well. But here's the thing that got me that was emblematic of it. This weekend, I looked at this video of these teenagers, some maybe 20, maybe older, but most of them teenagers going into a 7-Eleven, beating this storekeep down to where they held him in place, throwing his own product at him, stealing a donation jar, trying to anyways, and then just going out. And no one's talking about how there must have been 20, 30 people in that place, robbed them for just stuff like potato chips and, cookies and whatever they could get their hands on. Who knows? And these are kids that have been taught that all these establishments that make money, that are businesses, they're completely theirs to rob because there will be no consequence. Now, which party gave us that kind of attitude about justice is so important in God's eyes. And if we as a people are going to let Kamala Harris, that wants to say it's okay to convert your kids to a different sex, and we need to protect that activity, we want to have it rampant in schools, all of these things, we deserve what the outcome is. So I don't care who you are, if you're sympathetic because maybe you have a child that's gay or what have you, you still should try to always move forwards to what God would want us to do. And these people are just completely, I don't know, they're lost. And I pray for their souls. I literally pray for their souls. I don't know. What do you think, Kevin?
I agree. You got to pray. Thank you, AJ. Let's go to Lucille, who joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Lucille.
Good morning, Kevin. Happy belated Columbus Day.
And to you, too.
Thank you. Well, all I can say is that Princess Adenoid might yet change her mind about Columbus. She's got 3 more weeks, so she still has time to change her mind, like she flip-flopped on so many other things. And the reason why I'm saying this, Kevin, is because have you seen her latest ad, her latest campaign about all these tough men who are for Kamala? You see, they're worried because they are losing the vote of white males. And so they have this hilarious new ad where you see, for example, a man with a gun, and he says, I'm tough enough to shoot and I'm tough enough to be for Kamala, or some such thing. Another one says, I like red meat, and I'm all for Kamala, and on and on and on. And it's really hilarious, Kevin. We had, such so-and-so people for Kamala. We had white males for Kamala. And now we have toxic masculinity for Kamala. So toxic masculinity is back, Kevin. As long as it is to revive Kamala's flagging campaign, toxic masculinity is back. And then, of course, once they I don't know, heaven forbid they, yeah?
Here's a little bit of the ad.
Man. I'm a man. I'm a man, and I'm man enough.
I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Meat. Man enough to cook my steak rare. Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
And it goes on and on and on.
Ooh, so much testosterone. Yeah, I'm telling you, toxic masculinity is awful, but when it's a matter of propping up Kamala, bring it on. So she might change her mind yet about that other toxic masculinity thing about, Columbus, because if that is going to, prop up her campaign, she's going to say, maybe he was not all that bad, I mean, we do have, they did encourage exploration or something along those lines. As I said, Kevin, she's got 3 more weeks. She still has time to change her mind. And does she change her mind? She has how can I put it, conveniently elastic mind. So I wouldn't be surprised if that were the next thing, Kevin.
Lucille, great call. Thank you for bringing that up. We'll play this clip coming up. Let's go to Chandler, who joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Chandler.
Hey, Kev. Good morning. Today is the start in Ada County of in-person early voting. So there are you can go to the Ada County website, and they will list locations, but a lot of it's the standard places like Boise City Hall, Meridian City Hall. But I'd really encourage everybody in the KIDO audience to, if you're in Ada County, please start voting and get it done. You'll save yourself from the text messages, last-minute postcards, and all that fun stuff, and it really does help us out. And then I wanted to thank you for having the new chief on. That was really great. I hope he comes back on a regular basis. It'd be really good to hear what's going on, and I'm sure he's got some really good stories about cartels. It'd be fun to hear, too.
He sounds like a really good dude. Chandler, thank you for the call. All right, fair enough. Let's go to Jim and Star with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Kay Swayze. Hey, Lucille there, when she says, ooh, toxic masculinity, you got to take that and use it for a drop. That was too good.
I will get on that with my drop king here.
Yeah, that was great. And she's right, Kamala has 3 weeks. She can change her mind 300 times from that point. I mean, it's amazing what those people will do when you're not based in any true fundamentals or any core values. You can just go whichever way the wind blows, and that's what they do. And I've been paying attention, watching her and watching Walls. Walls, wow, he is a character, and the Elmer Fudd thing, Elmer Fudd with a bit of an attitude is a perfect analogy. The guy he's a real clown. My main thing I wanted to ask you, though, since you're so good, Brett, you and Petso are obviously tight. I like Dave Petso.
Well,
I think he's a good guy. You
sure,
know where I'm going
sure.
with this?
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I have no idea where you're going with this, but please go ahead.
I'm just wondering, because, he's obviously very outspoken on things that, even though he's, wants Trump to win because he knows Trump will make the country a much better place than it is, he's very outspoken, and I just wanted to know if if you could say something, do people come up to him on the street and actually start ripping into his ear a little bit?
You got me.
Don't know, huh?
No,
maybe Dave, maybe he's listening, and yeah, I just have to assume that as much as he's on your show and his own, and the things he says about Trump, I know there are some people that, myself, I can see some of the points that he's making, and I don't take offense to it. But boy, I could see some people getting really wound up. Like, I could see Tea Party Bob coming up to Petso and just kicking him right in the shins.
I could see that.
Or pull the 6-shooter, one of the two. But, if you get a chance, maybe you could get him to talk about that on the air. I think that would be something. There may be a couple funny stories in there.
Well, I will take that into consideration, of course. Dave loves taking calls on Saturday as well, if you're around. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you.
I only call this show that I save my weekends for other things. But, maybe I will do that. But, hey, thanks again for keeping us informed and letting us know. And you sound a lot better. Thank God you're much healthier than you were a week ago.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. Take care.
You take care, buddy.
All right. Appreciate our friend Jim joining us. And you can join us as well at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. We always appreciate the phone calls. We would love to hear from you next. We do want to thank Lucille for letting us know about this incredible video. Men for the vice president, men for Kamala. Man up, they're saying. Let's take a listen if you haven't seen this on TV on KIDO Talk Radio.
I'm man, and I'm man enough.
I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Neat.
Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
I ain't afraid of bears.
That's what bear hugs are for.
I'll tell you another thing I sure as shit am not afraid of. Women.
I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
There we have it. We'll have more of that ad in a minute. Jared Halpern joining us from Fox News Radio, returning once again to his beloved home in Idaho.
Yeah, that's a bold ad there. Is that running in Idaho?
I think it is. It's, Men for Harris.
Yeah, okay. That's one of those PACs that have come to support Harris. One of the reasons that her campaign has raised now $1 billion, which is an astonishing amount of money when you consider that she was not a candidate for this office when this campaign began.
Well, and in such a short time.
Yeah, that's what I mean, it's just an astonishing amount of money. Now, we don't know if that translates. I mean, it translates to helping ground game. It translates, obviously, to getting ads on the air. It translates to, hiring staff in these battleground states. Does not necessarily mean that you're going to win the election just because you're outspending your opponent. And listen, we have seen, and new Fox News power rankings are out this morning. It shows that this is still a very close race. More than 90 electoral votes from 7 states in toss-up territory. I mean, that's extraordinary this late in an election, and I think it shows that it is going to be a late night potentially on November 5th.
Looking at it from the political science perspective, it is fascinating that we've had the 2 candidates, then one of them dropping out, then his vice president, then she had, as they called it, the sugar high, and that appears to be over. And, there are no, I don't know if there are any traditional metrics that we use to really judge this race, is there?
No, I mean, listen, I think it's been extraordinarily static, to your point, right? I mean, we've had just the amount of tumult we've had this election cycle is unprecedented. There's never been anything like this, right, where you have the sitting president step down late in the campaign, in between conventions. You have 2 debates that went wildly different with different candidates on the stage. You've had the assassination attempts on former President Trump. You have had the rollout of a brand new VP pick for Harris. And like nothing's really moved seismically, right? There's been, sort of a 2 or 3 or 4 point spread that's maybe been kind of the high that both candidates have achieved, but you've not seen that be a major fluctuation. And that's what's extraordinary, right? We talk a lot about October surprises or this and that. It's like, what else could happen, right? I don't think there's any singular event that like has shaken up this race in a way that, it made anybody kind of think differently about how close or tight it is. And that's what's remarkable. And I don't know if that's a reflection of the candidates or a reflection of kind of how deeply divided, many voters are, kind of how tribal our politics have become. You're a Republican or you're a Democrat, and that's kind of how you vote. But it's definitely changing the way that these campaigns have had to operate, right? This is now trying to really work at the margins. And you look at the gender gap and the way that the Trump campaign is trying to win women. You have Vance today in suburban Philadelphia with kind of a suburban women event. You have Walls out in Western PA trying to appeal to rural voters. You have obviously former President Obama, making a strong pitch to try and win back the strong advantage that Democrats have had with black men. I mean, it's trying to win over, kind of 10, 20, 30,000 votes in these swing states that are expected to make all of the difference.
And yet we have Bill Clinton on the campaign trail instead of the sitting president.
Yeah, listen, Bill Clinton is kind of the closer for Democrats. He has been for, 30, 40 years. They are going to take him out in, again, Georgia, kind of those southern states, North Carolina. Again, this is an appeal to rural voters. It is an appeal to kind of southern moderate voters who were so instrumental in his winning the White House twice. And he is somebody who, listen, is still viewed as highly favorable among Democratic voters. There are still a lot of people that kind of remember his time in office. And, he's going to be out there. Now, the sitting president is out there, too. He is doing an event today, this evening in Philadelphia. And I think, you're going to see him in places that they think he can do the most good. I think Pennsylvania is the key example of that, right? He is, PA born, the Scranton roots, made his career in Delaware, just over the Philadelphia-Pennsylvania line. And so they're both examples of how you can kind of use your bench to your advantage. And in both cases, but whether it's Trump, whether it's Clinton or whether it's Biden, I think they're going to be very strategic in how they're deployed over the next 21 days.
Jared, anything else we should be looking out for?
No, I think it's going to be, listen, we have 21 days. More than 4 million people have already voted. All of these speeches, all of these events, they matter, right? Because that could be the final word, the closing argument for an increasing number of voters who have access to early voting options. So I'm going to be looking at those trends over the next couple of weeks, how high the early voting population is. There are estimates that it could be upwards of 45, 50% of all of the votes cast. That would be, again, kind of new territory in a way for campaigns to have to recalibrate how they run these races, especially for the Harris campaign, who is running this race on such a truncated schedule.
Jared Halpern, we appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Sure thing.
More coming up next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Well, always appreciate the work of the Daily Caller. I'm a proud member and support you guys all the time. Where are we going? What are we talking about today, sir?
So I think that last week there was this whole media campaign and White House campaign about how it was misinformation that FEMA was using disaster funds for migrants. Now, this really irked me because FEMA has spent almost $1.5 billion on the migrant crisis since 2022. And KJP and the media and these media outlets, their spin is that FEMA got these funds from a different fund that weren't disaster relief funds, right? And while that's technically true, it's all besides the point, because obviously money is fungible. So, for instance, let's say my roommate comes home one day with a $2,000 fur coat, and then he asks me if he could take some of my chicken for dinner because he doesn't have money for groceries. And then I ask him, well, how could you afford that $2 coat because you didn't have enough money for groceries? And he says, oh, well, it wasn't part of my grocery budget. And so, I don't know, I think they're just totally missing the point, and it's very irksome because that almost $1.5 billion that was used on the migrant crisis could have easily been used for disaster relief for Americans who needed it.
And yet we have the media that covers it up.
Yeah, exactly. They're conducting this spin operation and calling it misinformation because the money technically didn't come from the disaster relief funds. It came from another fund called the Emergency Food and Shelter Fund. But at the end of the day, it's still FEMA funds. And now FEMA is saying that they're running out of money for the hurricane season. And it's very, very sad that Americans are being cast aside while we can spend over $1 billion on the migrant crisis, no problem.
Well, how do you think this is playing out in the election? Again, you have, and that's why Mr. Ramirez, you and the folks at the Daily Caller are so important to us here in Idaho and across the country. You're getting the truth out, but how do we combat this media? And it's odd that I'm sure you saw the J.D. Vance clip with Martha Raddatz where she's going, no, just a few apartment complexes. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, it is pretty egregious how she says, oh, well, only a few migrant gangs are taking over these apartment complexes. And it's just, again, it's the same theme of missing the point. The point is that Americans are being cast aside in favor of illegal migrants who have apparently just disrespected our rule of law. And you're right, it is hard for your average American who's not super tuned into the news to get this information because the mainstream media is just so in bed with the Democratic Party and will basically do the spin job for them. And so I think what Americans, and I think more and more Americans are doing this, is they're flocking toward non-legacy media outlets like the Daily Caller, for example, and like your radio show and other alternative media outlets to get the real story and not to get the media spin that we see so often.
Well, based on what you're seeing with this, how do you think this election is going? Because again, everything is tightening up. How do you see this playing out in the next 3 weeks?
That is a great question. I think this election it's a toss-up. I mean, every week you have Trump ahead by a little bit, or you have Kamala ahead by a little bit, depending on which poll. And then in the swing state polls, Trump seems to be doing good. I think it just depends on which poll you're looking at, but they're basically neck and neck. And I think this can really go either way. I know historically polls tend to underestimate Trump's performance, which is a good sign for Trump and Republicans. And so I don't know. I personally don't have a very thorough prediction as to what's going to happen, but I think it's a toss-up. And judging by the history of polling and how it underestimates Trump, I think things are looking good for the Trump campaign. But again, anything can happen in 3 weeks.
Well, it's fascinating, and we talk about this. Louis Ramirez joining us from the Daily Caller on KIDO Talk Radio. We talk about this is just, the past 3 cycles. 2016, Trump beats the odds. 2020, Joe wins from the basement. Media suppresses the truth. And now, 2024, Joe gets the boot. Kamala raises a ton of money. Negative media, people calling Trump a Nazi, and yet he's still in it. As a writer, can you define what's going on? I know that's an easier question to ask than to answer, sir.
That's actually a very fascinating phenomenon, is that Trump has all of these odds stacked against him. He has the media working against him, and he has obviously the lawfare machine working against him and the Democratic Party working against him. And beyond all of that, he's still in the race, and in some polling, he's ahead. And if you look at, there's this place called Polymarket where you can bet on the outcome of the election. He's ahead by a substantial margin. And so I think Americans are smarter than we think. And I think Americans know what the truth is. And I don't think that they believe everything they see on corporate media. And because if they did, well, then Trump would be nowhere near the lead in the race. And I think Americans are really sort of awakening to how the system is basically against Trump. And they're very obviously in defiance of that, because as we see, Trump is still in the race here.
Mr. Ramirez, what about the race for the Senate, the race for the House? A lot of people are talking about the race in Montana. We've got Senator Tester, Mr. Sheehy. That seems to be a big one. I'm surprised Wisconsin now has closed. Nevada has the Republican up. What do you see so far in that?
So I think that all signs point to, we actually ran a Patriots piece on this the other day. All signs point to Republicans winning the Senate. And I think if you look at polling, most of the seats that are going to flip, that are predicted to flip, are going to flip from blue to red and not the other way around. And so it does look like Republicans are probably going to take the Senate. They're probably going to have 51 seats. And it's funny because in that Patriots piece that was written by Gage Clipper, he talks about how one of the Dems' only sort of chances to flip a red seat blue is Texas, which is honestly pretty laughable. But I would say that Ted Cruz and those Texans shouldn't get too confident, because the polls are too close for comfort. But just the idea that Democrats can flip Ted Cruz's seat blue is a bit just laughable on just based on what we know about Texas.
Yeah, and you've got a piece in the Journal today, and Mr. Ramirez, I'll get you out on this one, is Ted Cruz blowing his reelection bid.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, and I haven't read that piece, but it's so far-fetched, and no one was really talking about this before. It just so happens now there's a lot more light shed on the fact that Ted Cruz could potentially lose his seat. But I don't see it happening. I'm from Texas. I know who Texans are and what they value. And I'll just put it this way. If Democrats are reliant on flipping Texas to have the advantage in the Senate, I think that's a very poor game plan. And it just shows how poor of a position the Democrats are in right now.
Yeah, one more quick follow-up. It's fascinating when you think of the Bush dynasty that, they thought that George III was going to do it, and apparently that has gone away. You as our Texas expert, what do you make of the Bush machinery? Is it over?
That's a good question. I don't know if it's over per se, because you can always have maybe another Bush who comes in and is more unorthodox in his policy approach and is not very establishment conservative like the Bush dynasty kind of was. So I think that Americans are just obviously with the whole Donald Trump phenomenon, they're more receptive to different ideas, and I think it's more about the ideas than the actual people, for instance.
Mr. Ramirez, we look forward to your work in the Daily Caller and other pieces. We appreciate you, and keep up the great work, sir. You inspire us here in Idaho.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you. All right, our great friend Louis Ramirez. Check him out at the Daily Caller. Coming up next, Mark, the watchdog of Eagle, Kevin Miller, brought to you by Beacon Plumbing. They bring you Fox News, KIDO Talk Radio.
With us. I thought she was fantastic. She was energetic. The crowd went wild. It was electric. CNN, Democrats go anxious. Axios, blue wall blues. Fox, Dems are scared to death. No, Dems are not scared to death. Dems are pumped. What I would like the press to talk a little bit more about is Trump is in hiding. He didn't do the 60 Minutes interview. He does not want to do another debate. He's in mental decline. Obama's speech was captivating in Pittsburgh, yet instead of talking about that, we're talking about what he said before the speech to black men. I think that the media has...
It's bad when the folks at The View are turning on the media. Good morning, Kevin Miller with you. Let's go to the watchdog of Eagle on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Kevin. I don't know which is worse, listen to libtard Steve with him spewing this type of rhetoric like we just heard, or just listening to what we just heard. I want to mention about Dave Petso. As a former business owner of 38 years and dealing with thousands of people, even politicians, all I can say is Dave has been playing, folks. It's very obvious that the most casual observer, he plays both sides of the fence with Trump-Harris because he doesn't want to insult his Harris supporters as clients nor his Trump supporters as clients. And that is one of the reasons why he refuses, in the last two times I've asked you, the impact of what happens to the middle working class with the the Trump tax cuts when they go away. Now, I am so sick, and you have heard me say this repeatedly, of the lies from the deep state-controlled media that has lied to us so many times over the years about it being razor thin. Tell me something, Kevin. I'm sure you'll be able to answer this. What's the biggest voting bloc in this country right now?
White men?
You want me to answer that for you? It's the working class, isn't it?
I was going to say white men, but working class? Yeah, okay.
No, it does not matter, folks, what race, what religion, what color, or creed that you are in this country, okay? You're the working class. You are the majority. So what you're trying to tell us then out there by people who say that it's a razor-thin majority or razor-thin race right now is that the working class, they can't decide. They want actually half the country wants the majority of the working class voting bloc want more of the same of what we've had the last 4 years? BS. Total BS. Total BS. Now, it's obvious that they're trying to make this race. That they don't want, the deep state doesn't want to make it as obvious as the 2020 election still. I can tell you that. And you watch. She'll barely pull this thing out, but they'll make it look good still. And the other thing, the Democrat Party, as I call them, the Democrat Party, has been importing nothing but chaos and terrorism under Biden-Harris and making citizens of them instantly. And I'll give you an example. A couple weeks back, I sent you an article that the Biden-Harris administration has been turning migrants into voting U.S. citizens at the fastest speed in years as the election draws closer. What does that tell you, folks, about the fraud being perpetrated by the left and the deep state? Another one I just said yesterday. MSNBC panics. Far-left hacks slam Republicans and smear the Gateway pundit for reporting on the UO-CAVA overseas votes where applicants are not required to prove their identity or provide a legitimate address. Now, what does that tell you what's coming up for us, folks, in this election year? It doesn't make you feel good, does it, that we're going to have fair and honest elections? No. Like hell we will. So I'm obviously going to I'm going to vote for Trump, but I think the jig is up, and what's going to happen. They'll perpetrate. It'll be real close that she wins by whatever, a few electoral votes over Trump. And Trump might even show this time that he gets the majority of the popular vote. Whatever way, they'll rig it, though, in her favor. That's all I got to say. You have a good day, sir. KIDO.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate Mark being so optimistic. By the way, sometimes you just need a good laugh. Sometimes you just need, just kind of a timeout, if you will.
Here we are. How do we get here? You smell good. You look good.
Oh, that's better than smelling bad. Thank you.
I know. You smell great. You look great.
Yeah, you smell good. You look great. It's all about your senses. And, of course, when we're talking about the most important sense to us, it's hearing. Because without hearing, you can't hear Kevin Miller. You can't hear KIDO Talk Radio. And if you know someone or you are struggling with hearing loss, here's a quick message from our friends at Hearing Connection. Don't wait any longer to get the help you need. If left untreated, and look, I don't want this to happen to anybody. I don't want this to happen to me or you or anyone else. hearing loss left untreated can lead to social isolation and depression. Aren't you tired of going, huh? What? And even lead to a risk of developing dementia. You don't want that. Hearing Connection is now offering a 30-day risk-free trial of the latest and greatest hearing aids, the Signia AX. Don't let hearing loss hold you back any longer. If you have any questions, get a free hearing evaluation, a risk-free trial of the new Signia AX. Call them today at 208-488-3255. That's 488-3255. No pressure, just an evaluation. And by the way, start enjoying life again. That's Hearing Connection at 488-3255. And maybe I need to learn how to read as opposed to hear. But we do appreciate our friends at Hearing Connection that have been with us for many, many years.
Here we are. How do we get here? You smell good. You look good.
Oh, that's better than smelling bad. Thank you.
I know. You smell great. You look great.
Here's a guy that maybe he's a sniffer. Tea Party Bob joins us on KIDO Talk Radio.
Watch that now. Watch that.
You're
back here for 2 days, and you're at it again.
By the way, you're a journalist. You're about ready to launch a project where you're interviewing people. And, I mean, would you ask that type of question? Would you have one of your guests on and say, you smell good?
I don't think so, Kevin.
Okay.
I think the only thing that smells bad in Washington is Kamala. And I have to say, Mark really said a mouthful this morning. I want to congratulate Dave Petso on his good fortune, but I also have a few things to say about his comment.
Man, what is this, the Beat on Petso show today?
Yes, it is. I enjoy listening to him, but I see him diametrically opposed to a lot of the things that he plays both sides of the fence, okay? And I can't tell you what that means, but I think you can figure it out. He's right about many people disliking Trump because of all of the propaganda that's been coming out, for the last 8 years about him. But let me tell you something. You have to look a little deeper than just the propaganda, because his policies, economically and otherwise, we have never had a better 4 years in our presidential history, except maybe with Ronald Reagan. So, give credit where credit is due and forget about the liberal propaganda. And I do agree on one thing with him. The probability of an attack on our big cities is rather large, especially with the number of terrorists that we now have in our country. And we don't even know how many there are, but there are thousands that they estimate. So on taxes and tax rates, David says a few interesting things. They are still very high, but if we ever have to wean ourselves off the 43% federal subsidy to our state budget, you're going to see taxes climb to much higher levels. In 2015, our state budget was $6.7 billion. And in just 9 years, that budget has more than doubled to $14 billion. That's a lot of bucks, my friend. And if you don't have that federal subsidy, you're going to be paying through the nose on property taxes and other taxes. Dave talked about the banks having record profits. But what he forgets to say is that the banks are charging 20% interest on the highest credit card debt in history. So please, don't tell me about how well the banks are doing, because I don't care anymore. And the Albertson-Kroger merger will do nothing but reduce competition, raise prices, and you're going to have less choices for the consumer.
Well, everybody is so positive. Everybody is so positive today.
Yes, I know. Well, I don't like when people sit on both sides of the fence.
I don't see that. I don't see that, and I don't know where you and Mark are getting that from.
Let me get you a new pair of glasses, then. I'll help you see it.
I'm wearing my glasses right now.
Well, then you better fix them. Get them fixed.
Dave Petso has just said that a lot of people don't like Donald Trump personally. Now you've given me the hiccups.
And I agree with that.
How embarrassing is it?
Anything else?
Yeah.
Dave likes to stroll through the rose garden. I like to point out the thorns.
All right. Thank you, Thorny Tea Party Bob. This is embarrassing. I have the hiccups now. Went and helped out the folks in the impacted areas. Casey, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we're happy to be here today, Kevin. Thanks for having us.
Well, who do we have on with us?
Well, we have Dave and Chris, who are nurses who went to North Carolina. And then we also have our Chief Nursing Officer, Angie, who can speak to how many people have really raised their hands here at the hospital. We have so many volunteers ready to stand to help out our teams with HCA Healthcare across the country who are really having to stand up in the wake of these hurricanes.
Well, that is amazing. If you'd like to tell us about your experience, that'd be great.
Yeah, Chris, why don't you start?
Sure. My name's Chris. I'm an ER nurse. Got 17 years of experience. You see natural disasters on TV, and you kind of want to help out and do something besides just send money in to help out. So, seen an opportunity with HCA at the sister hospital Missions there in Asheville to go in and actually get some hands on and try to help those people. So I just seen that opportunity and, really wanted to go see what I could do.
Well, I'm with you, but can you describe what it was like to get in there and, flying in and the power situation? You guys are our eyes and ears on the ground.
Yeah, by the time we got there, they had power restored to the hospital. They're still without water. I think a lot of their water main system got washed away or knocked out, and I believe they said it was going to be like another 2 months before they could have that up and running. So just a lot of water trucks. They had I can't remember how many gallons per day the hospital takes, but it's a huge amount of water. Just kind of went in, as an ER nurse expecting, trauma patients, near drowning type stuff. And then once you get there after the initial rush, it's kind of the patients that you don't really think about in this type of situation. So like a lot of like older people on home O2 that, they're out of O2, they're out of supplies they need at home, kind of stuck. A lot of mental health patients in crisis needing help, like diabetics out of insulin. So after, I guess, that initial rush, that's mostly what I saw.
And then David was there to help serve meals as well. So David, you want to talk to us about what you did?
Yeah, so I went and I worked on the floors, and then I also helped with meal preparation. The hospital was given approximately, they were preparing about 500-600 meals for staff, up to 1,000 meals at a time for staff, and then thousands of meals a day to the public who came to the hospital. The hospital acted basically like a bastion of civility or civilization, if you would. They opened up the hospital pharmacy to people to come in and get prescriptions filled with all the hospital or all the outside of hospital pharmacies being closed. People needed their asthma medication, they needed their insulin, whatever it was, they could get it filled there. They were providing food and water to anybody that came in, as well as supplies for staff so they could take care of their people at home so they could come to work. It was really a humbling experience to see everybody working together to support the community in such a large scale.
Well, what was that like, serving meals? And can you describe for us, gentlemen, the driving in and how tough it was and the devastation from your firsthand experiences?
Honestly, the devastation more was a psychological devastation. Outside of the areas where the river overflowed, the majority of the city, other than having some trees down, physically wasn't too rough. Getting in there wasn't too bad on the roads that we came in on. But talking with people was, I heard a lot of stories and listened to a lot of people who were both staff and patients and family members who were talking about the things that were going on and the difficulties they were having. And being able to have that human contact, I think, was also pretty impressive on me. Hearing their stories of what had happened. But what I saw was that the community is working together really well, and that there's been very little strife. There's been more people pulling together and helping each other in a way that you always hope that humanity would, and it was really great to see that.
And you're looking at Asheville. I'm trying to think of, Asheville, probably a little smaller than Boise, maybe 70, 80, 90,000 people, something like that.
So I didn't know anything about Asheville before they told me I was going to be able to go. So I looked it up. It's actually, the city itself is about the size of Tampa. It's about 100,000 people. But that's the city proper. The metro area is actually closer to the Treasure Valley in size. There's almost 500,000 people in the metro area. It's just spread out, and it's a very mountainous. And so it's spread out into a bunch of what they call hollers or canyons or whatever you would call it. But back up into, so it's a pretty sizable community, really.
Yeah, no, it's known for its arts and the Biltmore Estate. And so we're looking at a community the size of the Treasure Valley that they're without water.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you want to speak to that? You were talking earlier about how much water they had to bring into the facility.
So actually, because of where I was at, I was involved with a lot of the food stuff, and I talked to a lot of people about bringing stuff in because I was astounded by not only the amount of effort, but the amount of just sheer quantity, the logistics of bringing all that stuff in. They brought in showers, they brought in laundry facilities, they brought in water trucks more than I've ever seen. And talking to one of the guys that worked there, he said that they were doing about 250,000 gallons a day of water just for the hospital and supporting all of the stuff they needed for the hospital. And that doesn't count the water that they were trucking in to other places around town for people to get. So it's a tremendous effort.
And Kevin, the efforts aren't done. Our chief nursing officer can speak to that as well. Angie can talk to you about that.
So one thing, I mean, it really all started on, Saturday, September 28th. I received a call, an emergent call, asking for staff. We knew that we were all watching the news and watching the devastation that was happening in Asheville. And I quickly sent a message out to my nursing leaders and asked, they need help. These nurses, we need to get some nurses in there and send relief. And within 15 to 20 minutes, I had 20 nurses on my list. And Dave and Chris were the first to volunteer and the first to go out. And it really just is a tribute to the organization. The West Valley Medical Center is a part of a larger organization, HCA. It is the largest in the country, and we're very fortunate to be able to rally and get those supplies, get the staff. I received a phone call just last night asking for staff to go to Florida to help. We have 40 hospitals in Florida, and 5 of those hospitals were affected by Hurricane Milton. And again, I was able to get a list of nurses to go out that will be going out sometime this week to help with those efforts as well. And so it's really humbling to me to see the camaraderie, the availability for my staff to literally drop. I mean, this was at 10 o'clock last night. The call was maybe to be leaving this morning and to say, yes, we'll go and help give that health care to, those individuals in Florida as well.
Boy, it must be incredibly challenging, obviously rewarding and needed, but that's a long way from West Valley.
It definitely is, and it is quite, Dave and Chris can attest to this. It was quite the, literally every day that you're going, okay, you're waiting. There's no way to get in. Oh, now you're going to go today. Let's fly. It really was. It was a day-to-day initiative and really organizing those. That whole aspect of it all. It's pretty incredible.
No, I was going to ask the guys, what's the takeaway from that, and will you guys be going back again? And it was just explained. This doesn't happen in a vacuum because, again, you have to be able to have the staff to support the people that are leaving.
Yeah, I'd love to go again. It was pretty hectic. Kind of info dribbling out as it comes. So you kind of have to put everything on hold. But yeah, I'd love to go help out again. I think they missed me here. They were pretty busy in our ER, and everybody was pretty happy to see me back. But it was a good experience.
Oh, absolutely. I'd go anytime they would let me. You get into nursing because you want to help people. You want to do the right things by people. And even though in the day-to-day grind of doing that job that you are helping people, there's the sense of urgency and the sense of what you're doing when you get the opportunity to do something like this. So this disaster relief is so much more intense, and it just is a reminder that I've been doing this job for 20 years, but this is really what I'm doing it for, is the opportunity to give people comfort and aid and help that they need, whatever it is. So, yeah, I would go again in a heartbeat. It was great.
Well, we appreciate everybody joining us from West Valley Medical Center. Anything else that you all would like to share with people on KIDO Talk Radio? We thank you for your continued dedication. We'd love to hear from more people that are going, obviously highlighting the great work of what you all are doing, and, of course, bringing Idaho love to those folks that need it the most.
Yeah, thanks so much for talking to us today, Kevin. And I just also want to recognize our teams here that are helping virtually as well. We have an HR business partner, Kristen, who has supported the mission team in North Carolina by contacting their employees to ensure they were safe and receiving the support and resources needed. So what we can't do there in North Carolina and Florida, we've been able to support them here virtually as well. So we've had colleagues doing that here on the ground in Caldwell. So that's been really unique and wonderful as well. So we really appreciate you talking to us today, and we're really appreciative of our colleagues who are so supportive.
Well, and it goes without saying, this is what you guys do, and we would hope that other people would step up, and thank you all. Now, Casey, if you ever want to fill in here, 6 a.m. hours, great. You handled this wonderful. I didn't really have to do much, and I'm grateful.
Hey, maybe that would be fun sometime.
You guys have a great
invitation, Kevin.
Yes, ma'am. I will do that. Thank you very much. You guys have a great day.
Okay, thank you too. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Our great friends from West Valley Medical Center. If you didn't know that, there are a lot of people now. We had Chris, who is a friend of Cowboy Calvin, living in Florida. We have Jason, who is a lineman, who is working and doing. I mean, this guy's been gone since the disaster happened, or before the disaster. He was in Georgia. Now he's in Florida. He was talking about. This is why if you miss any of the show, you can go back and listen to the podcast. They have to deal with snakes. They have to deal with gators. He saw a shark yesterday. And these are the stories that are going unreported, unfortunately. And these are real-life Idahoans. And then we have our friends from West Valley Medical Center that obviously a lot of is going on there, but they're part of this big group. And they go, hey, can you help us out in Asheville? Can you feed people? Can you work in the emergency room? And imagine the entire Treasure Valley without power. And now the power has been restored, but still without water. Amazing. In our time of crisis, we see the very best in Idaho and in America, and it's so humbling to highlight that. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. And if you know anybody helping or needs help, please let us know. We'd love to get them on. God bless everybody. Keep the faith. And Kevin Miller loves you.